Okay. It shall be madness.
Just spilled my coffee all over myself.
You okay? It shall be madness, and madness it shall. I'm making it a free-for-all round table. Everyone's invited.
Cool.
Madness show. Let us see what happens. Let us see what happens. Oh. I need to email it to Dan. Dan Cleverman. Show link. Whoops, that's not it. Where's the show link? Copy URL. Okay. And then we'll go on ahead over here. And it's all right. And then I think also, so if anybody, let's see. Yo, China.
Hello.
What's up, Dan? You here?
What's happening? Where's everybody?
Oh, they're coming. I'm inviting the whole world to this one.
Ooh, is it a special edition?
Special edition, yes.
Okay.
Given the current state of affairs.
Yeah, how they're shutting down the whole world, basically.
Yeah, the people have to weigh in.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy, man. It's kind of creepy. They just shut down my son's school for 3 weeks.
Really?
So, yeah.
Aye.
Even though we have no confirmed cases in my area at all, they still shut down my son's school.
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah.
Can you enable your video, or is this purpose?
Oh, let me see. Oh, okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was asking about my son's school.
Mm-hmm.
I had texted his mother and asked if they were shutting down, and she said, why? I was like, oh, because...
Oh, so they didn't? For his, they didn't do it?
They didn't, no.
Okay, that's good.
Not yet.
I'm glad to hear that. Because it's overblown and over the top, you know? Talk about overreacting. I mean, that's what I feel, maybe.
Well, tell me, I've heard literally everyone else's opinion on the coronavirus, so let me know what yours is. I think you told me a little bit already, but...
I'm gonna warn you, it's gonna be kind of dark.
That's
in
okay.
my opinion.
Totally
So
fine.
if you want to hear it, it's not very friendly.
That's alright.
I think it's a distraction from them robbing everyone blind. So basically, clearing out the store shelves, they're going to suck every last penny out of everyone to clear out the Walmart shelves to repurpose them as makeshift hospitals.
Oh, that's what you think. Oh, I see.
And they're crashing the stock market to rob everyone's 401k. They're basically dismantling and shutting down the system as a pretext for war that everyone forgot about in January. So there's a lot of evidence pointing to preparation for war. There's a massive drill going on right now in Europe with 20,000 U.S. troops, and the coronavirus is a convenient distraction from the massive war they've been planning for a long time that everyone completely forgot about in January. You know, how everyone was all over that, and then bam, nothing.
Wait, what was there's something going on in Europe?
A massive military drill between 20,000 U.S. troops and other NATO troops and all kinds of military war games going on, and also Navy, you name it, it's all happening right now.
Yeah, there's always lots of distractions whenever, just the same thing with Epstein, right? When that thing blew up.
Yeah.
And then something came along a week afterward and everyone completely forgot about it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really sinister. I mean, they're robbing the populace blind of every last drop of every last ounce of energy they have, and then they'll implement their agenda, whatever they want to do. The war, I don't know, it seems really dark and sinister to me. It really does.
Well, I feel like dark and sinister things have been going on this entire time in this realm. And,
yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
And I feel like it's been under it's been hidden the entire time, right? So now it feels like, you know, apocalypse, the unveiling, etc.
Yes.
Right? So it's not gonna be funsy onesie necessarily. It's gonna be some shit, you know.
Sorry, Daniel, can I urgently interject? Step in. I'll switch on the video as well. I want to do it before it gets dark. Yeah, I'm in Cape Town, and it's the time is just a sec. The time is 7:11 here.
Hi, Ihor.
1911, which makes it 111. Which makes it 111 numerologically, and you can see behind me the Table Mountain is burning. And you can still see the sunset.
Wait, where are you, Ihor?
I'm in Cape Town. I'm in Bantry Bay, Sea Point. It's an area of Cape Town. It's 10 minutes drive from the city center. And the Table Mountain, you can see it. The Table Mountain is behind me.
Right.
That's Lance Head and Table Mountain. You can see the sky. It started at 12:55, about 12:45 or something around that. The fire brigade was there at 12:55. I got up at 1:40 in the afternoon today because I went to bed about 9:30 in the morning. And so you can see the Table Mountain is burning. The slopes of Table Mountain.
This is in
Is
South
there a
Africa.
wildfire?
Basically the forest is burning. The trees are burning. And I just want to tell you, to remind you that this is Gate 12, one of the Earth 13 chakras. Table Mountain is Gate or Chakra 12. Moscow is 13. And the Moscow chakra, the Moscow gate is only healed once all the 12 chakras of Earth are healed.
That's where I was born.
Where?
In Moscow.
You're not serious.
I'm serious.
I'm from Moscow myself. Daniel, is this...
Wow.
That's beyond... It's not just beyond coincidence, it's beyond synchronicity these days, if you ask me.
Do you know what the cause of the fire is, Ihor? Or is there any... What's the cause of the fires?
Gary, how do I know? I mean, on this 3D surface, I don't know. There have been a lot of cases where... I'm at home right now, so... there have been a lot of cases of deliberate ignition of fires throughout the last some I don't know how many years, for whatever reason. But I know it's not accidental, and this is very much. And by the way, if you want to see the better side of life. You can see the pink
Table Mountain's
clouds
on
and
fire.
the blue sky. I hope you can see the full beauty of it.
Yeah, it's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, and so all this is very you know, I don't have to name it. You know what's taking place. So.
A purifying, right?
It's purification. Yes, it's purification, and we know what's going on. We know what really is taking place. And I'm just so grateful, Gary, for this opportunity to be with you now and with Daniel. Daniel, it's good to be with you. It's so good to be with you guys. It's just so good. Gary, you remember our first meeting in Irkutsk? When I was in Siberia, when we first had our first snail show, was it 2017, right?
Yeah, I was at Eden's house, right?
2017, and Gary.
Yeah.
That was the very start of the story, which by handling which, by creating which, by being active about it, I am here where I am now. I'm here in Cape Town now because the story that started when we first talked.
The show? That first show?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the first snail show. That story was starting. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
The story which I handled, which I did my way, and that story is still taking place. It's still developing. That's why I'm in Cape Town.
You're talking about when you had to file for
Deal
asylum.
with a psychopath.
Yeah, you had to get asylum from Europe.
I had to get asylum. Yeah, I had to get asylum. I went to Holland because the whole situation, which started during while we, in November 2017 when we first talked. So that story started then, and then I went to Holland because the situation when I was dealing with a major Russian multinational corporation, which the person associated with it basically was a psychopath, and they robbed me of a lot of money, and I didn't accept it. I didn't allow them to rob me of my dignity, of my manhood, of my essence, of my dignity and who I am. Yeah, and I fought in an Aikido way.
Yeah,
it's spiritual Aikido.
I see.
I let them do what they wanted to do, but I went to the Dutch police. I told you this story, and it's all. There is a lot to tell. I don't want to take too much time, but there is a lot to tell. It's the metaphysical, esoteric aspect of it is just so vivid in this whole story, and it's not over. It's not over.
It's not.
I mean, it's over. It's over with this Russian corporation. I've long forgotten about them. I've long forgotten about me. But it's not about them at all. It's not about them. I don't want to deal with them. It's Aikido. I'm not dealing with them.
Has that situation followed you into South Africa at all in any way, shape, or form?
I brought myself here because I dealt with the situation in a proactive way, which is coming from my dignity, from my love, to anything which is to anyone who is real. Yeah, and every living being here, and life, real life.
Rebecca, can you hear us? Rebecca, are you here? I don't know if Rebecca's here or not. Her name is here, but I don't hear any audio.
Daniel, I can confirm. Gary, can I confirm what Daniel's been saying? So they're basically deploying troops in Estonia, where I live, which is my home country as well. I have 3 home countries. I mean, 2 really: Ukraine and Estonia. I have a Russian. My passport is Russian, but Russia is not my home. Siberia, somewhat, but not Russia. Can you see
Yeah, that's the whole sky. Is that actual fire or is that part of the sunset? Are we only seeing
No,
smoke?
this is sunset. This is the smoke. The fire is there behind me.
So this
Coming
is
from the
a
Table
sunset.
Mountain.
It's not just a fire.
Yeah, this is a
Okay.
sunset.
That's a crazy
That's a
combination. It looks like the whole city's on fire.
Yeah. So just to confirm, yes. So talking about Estonia, they're deploying troops in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and Poland on the Russian border. And Poland borders Belarus, but Belarus is basically a Belarusian-Polish border, Belarusian European Union, therefore, and Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania also European Union. And NATO members. Poland is a NATO member, EU member. But the border between Belarus and Poland is effectively the Russian border because there is no border between Belarus and Russia. Yeah, so it's a joint border of Russia and Belarus with European Union. Yeah, Russia and Belarus are in one kind of like union in a way, two-country union. And so therefore, the Belarusian-Polish border, Belarusian NATO, Belarusian EU border with Poland is a Russian border as well. So there are troops now accumulating in Estonia, NATO troops and American troops being deployed in Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and Poland, basically on the border with Russia. Yeah, and also in terms of the and something will be taking place in June, for what I know. This is information from a celestial political scientist and a sinologist. He's a specialist in China of the unprecedented caliber. And he calls his science celestial politics, not geopolitics, but celestial politics.
You said in June
Heaven
something?
politics. Yeah, so he says that in June there will be, they are at least, I mean, I'm not sure the invasion will be, he didn't make it clear. He didn't state it in those very words. He didn't say that the invasion will be from the west with the NATO troops invading from Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. He didn't say that explicitly, but he mentioned that they basically will be ready. He basically stated they will be ready to invade, and they will be posing this threat for Russia. Meanwhile, at the very same time, in the Middle East, he said that there will be a major movement of, to do with Syria, and essentially the so-called terrorists, and various militarized factions will enter former Russian or former Soviet Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and will move in dispersed manner. They will move to Russian Caucasus, Russia proper, Russian Federation, Russian Caucasus, and even Volga, which is central Russia, Volga region. So Russia, according to him, Russia will be invaded around that time in June. Wow. With these dispersed groups, of military combatants, or how do you call them? And it will be a major invasion, and Russia would have to fight two fronts. In the West, where NATO troops have accumulated and are accumulating and will have accumulated by June. And no accidental, it seems to me, there has been talk, and it was actually disclosed by the research was ordered last year. Siberian department of the Russian Academy of Sciences was commissioned by the Russian government to conduct a research on the possible scenarios of the disintegration of Russia into several countries, like at least 7, minimum 7. So they are preparing the collapse of Russia, the disintegration of Russia. I mean, what I'm seeing right now what I'm seeing now is, the way I see it is like, we are having like the second cycle of 1989, 1991. Only at that time it was Soviet Union disintegrating and the Eastern Bloc, the so-called communist bloc, the Soviet bloc disintegrated. We saw the collapse of the countries, disintegration of the several countries, including the Soviet Union. Czechoslovakia collapsed, Yugoslavia collapsed. Now, all that was 1989, it started really, and 1991, 3 years, yeah? Major wipeout, the largest wipeout of middle class in history. Yeah, people were robbed of their lifetime savings. The same is now happening worldwide. Yeah, it's 2020. It's like it started in 2019. Now 2020, 21, 3-year cycle. Also remember that Kissinger said that there will by 2022 there will be no state of Israel. It will cease to exist. It was Kissinger who is.
I never knew he said that.
Pardon?
I never knew he said that.
He did. It's mainstream. It's official.
Wow.
Now, and also remember that in 2013, the Pope said that the Third World War had started already. So it's going on. It's a hybrid war of a new type, as you probably know, and I mean you can see.
Hi, Omar.
Hey, Daniel. Hi, Ihor. Hey, Gary.
Hi, Ramo. How are you?
Good. Please call me by my name, Omar.
Oh, Omar, because you have a Ramo in Facebook, no?
Yes, it's backwards for fun.
He has it backwards.
Okay, Omar.
Hey, Andrea.
I'll call you Omar.
Hey.
Yeah, so we're mixing it up slightly today. I basically invited anyone who wants to come on and share and talk about the current state of affairs. If it gets too packed and too chaotic, maybe we'll figure that out then. But for now, it's anyone who wants to come and chat, and we're just discussing the current energetic climate. And we all know that it's very tumultuous right now.
Well, it's funny. I got really excited cooking breakfast and lunch. I woke up and did some coding and then jumped into the kitchen, and I was doing a sweet potato. I went to the Indian grocery store yesterday, which had lots of stuff. They don't sell toilet paper there, but they have everything else you would want. I got a bunch of spices and some bags of rice and some dried beans. And so I was eager to use one of the spices. I got Kashmiri paprika.
Mm.
And so I put that and some sweet potatoes and a clove of garlic or a head of garlic, and just started cooking and put in some Indian ghee and came back in here and looked at my notifications. I was got stuck debugging something earlier. It was driving me crazy, so I just stopped, saved it in the last known good state, and saw that Shane had said, liked the status, Snail Collective, da-da-da, and I was like, looked at the calendar, because I don't know what day it is. And I went, oh, it's Sunday, it's 10,
So it was like a nice little surprise for you?
So Shane saved the day. Thank you, Mr. Bales.
He might be watching.
Why I think the whole emphasis on the toilet paper is being thrown out there on the internet and all that, because they're trying to kind of subliminally tell us that we're full of shit.
I thought it was that they wanted.
They are.
Daniel, I thought it was maybe they wanted people to be scared shitless.
Well, either way, it's some kind of subliminal messaging because, come on.
No, they're telling us you guys are about to be wiped out.
But does it matter if they're full of shit?
Well, I think they're full of shit. They're saying that they are. I think that's actually the most likely one. Have you seen that Simpsons episode about the fake pandemic on the cruise ships?
No, I don't watch The Simpsons on purpose.
It was like a 2010 episode where the government released a pandemic on cruise ships. I'll send it to you guys. And and it was like a fake. It was like a fake story, basically, and the people bought it and went crazy. I'm not saying that it's a story, by the way. I'm not. I know
that's interesting. There's a good book that's a quick read that I think you would really appreciate. It's actually a film-based book for people that like.
It's not the Dean Koontz book that they're talking about, is it?
No, Dean Koontz books are not quick reads. They're things you should set on fire.
Wait, you don't like Dean Koontz?
They're too big. They're needlessly complicated. But no, this book is called Screenplay, and it's written by a gentleman named Sid Field, SYDFIELD. And in this book, Screenplay, by Sid Field, it tells you the 12 major thematic plots that are used to write storylines for movies. And once you read this book, it's maybe 200 pages, you will literally not be able to watch about 90% of movies because within 5 minutes you'll know what the whole thing is about and you're going to get upset.
I still enjoy movies, though, so I would still watch them because I like movies.
Oh, I'm just saying, after you read this book, you'll garner an interesting conceptualization of how the stories are generally told, and you may find your taste in movies changes, and you might be exposed to really interesting movies that don't follow that format, and maybe you'll have a lot more fun with movies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've heard of that idea, Omar.
How are you connecting this with the virus story, though? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
People trapped in a box get exposed to something they can't get away from. Chaos ensues. I don't have to watch the episode now.
I love it.
Simple.
Well, I wanted to say hello to Anne. We have a new guest, Annie. Annie is not having audio or visual, but apparently she's joining us to listen at least, so welcome. And
hello.
Welcome, Rebecca. Rebecca, can you hear us? Can you speak? Do you have words?
She said she was having technical difficulties.
It says connecting to audio didn't connect to audio. Hey, Gary, real quick question for you.
Yeah.
Just because I'm trying to update the Snail Show page on Trueform for our archives.
Mm-hmm.
And you post a lot on YouTube, and I got into YouTube to check, but my brain exploded because there were like 30 things going on. Is there a show for the first 2 weeks of this month on either of the main dates, Sundays?
The first 2 weeks?
Archive?
I can look it up for you real quick.
Okay, because if there is, I've installed a YouTube downloader plugin on the web server.
Mm-hmm.
So all I would need you to do is send me the links to the shows that you want to put in the archive, and then I'll download them and add them directly to the Snail Show homepage.
The last one we had was last week, and Dan, did you show up last week? Did I have it last week?
No, I did not.
That was the week before.
No, last week.
Yeah, a week before, yeah.
So you just played chess instead.
Why is the last one saying 1 week ago? And I see Dan. Dan, were you here 2 weeks ago?
2, yeah. I was out of town last Sunday.
Then the last one, Omar, was 2 weeks ago. That was the number 16. And the one before that
do it by
was 3
calendar.
weeks ago.
So the last one I have is March 1st.
Well, what's the date today? We're like mid-March, right?
It's
There was no show. There was no show last weekend.
I guess what I'm asking is, was there a show on the 7th or no?
No, there was not.
Okay.
There was no show last week? Oh, okay.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So what happened was last week I was doing a live with Becky Barron, and literally nobody showed up, and I didn't do the thing that I normally do, which is let you guys know, the show's coming up, just to wake people like Omar up back to normal time because he's off in, Wonderland. So I tell everyone to come back, and it gets people remembering, and then some people can show up, right? But I did not do that last week, so literally nobody showed up, and I was like, okay, cool, that's fine, I'll just do the live show with Becky. And then it turns out that the time was off, that she doesn't have, like, the stupid time change thing where the hour... So I was trying to do the show an hour beforehand, and then I ended up doing, like, a split show with Aurora and Becky, but they were both live. But it was not... there was no Snail Collective, though.
I prefer the terminology trying to build Wonderland, but okay.
Oh, Wonderland also is the name of like a giant trap house in this really cool movie. Spencer something or other.
Well, because while I don't have a day job, I am doing a lot of things to attempt to collect income because we all need it. So,
yep.
I always worry that people think I'm lazy, so I'm just.
I know you're not lazy, Omar. Like, you're more active than most people that I know. And going to work does not mean that you're active. Like having a day job, that doesn't mean.
That's so true. I couldn't agree more with that.
Well, thanks. I've always struggled with that.
I'm not trying to call you lazy at all. I know your time perception it's like mine. It's all over the place. So it's not like you're not on you're not on the train track. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah,
because once I checked out from the whole concept of. Because, dude, before 2004, I literally wanted nothing more than a 60-hour work week job to work it for 40 hours, 60 hours a week for 40 years, get married, have 2 kids, and collect a pension.
Really? That's what you wanted?
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a good life. And then I ate mushrooms, and everything turned upside on its ass.
Oh.
And it was actually my sister, ironically, who suggested the thing.
Sorry, Omar. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I have two selves for anyone who's viewing the YouTube live. I guess it doesn't matter that much, but
2 what?
There's 2 me's.
What?
You must have like latency, like it logged you in and then it didn't kick you.
No, just on OBS I have my face like popped out. Capture. I just need to remove.
Oh, is that Annie McHugh?
Video, I think. I don't know. I think it's
the Australian one.
Ooh, I don't know which one.
Oh, okay.
The display capture is getting your entire screen. The video is getting just your face.
So remove this one, right?
I think so.
How do I remove it?
Go to the minus.
I was kind of getting concerned. I thought you saw your doppelganger for me.
Okay. Well, if we suddenly see another Gary walk up behind Gary, we should be worried about that.
We will be worried, yes.
No, I mean, Lauda.
Because that means Michael Keaton is like subbing in and.
Dude, it's real. Like when I visited Lauda, she was telling me all kinds of stories, and she had one story where her clone literally like zipped open, and anyone who wants to say this is a bunch of bullshit, feel free. But she said like her clone came and visited her and like popped out through the space in her living room, and then tried to start arguing with her and like claiming that this was her apartment, not Lauda's, and they got into a big argument. I thought it was hilarious.
I've heard her tell that story before. But it's a weird one.
It's a weird one, yeah, but I don't know. I consider any possibility nowadays.
Speaking of visiting people and stuff, like plane tickets are so cheap right now, I was considering just flying to Portland for a day or 2. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah?
My wife is to visit her family there, or something like that. Do you guys look at how cheap the plane tickets are?
No, but that's good news for me because I need to go visit Jackson.
$200 to Hawaii.
Yeah?
Well, what I think is weird about it is the supply and demand doesn't scale with the fixed cost because the fuel costs more than that for that flight. But then again, does it, or is that just what they've been charging us?
Operating aircraft, I can't imagine that it would be cheap.
Why would the cost of fuel go down if there's an economic crisis currently going on? That doesn't make sense.
Sorry, that was extremely complicated. The cost of fuel should not. It has a minimum. So if it costs $200 to go to Hawaii when it normally costs $1,600 to go to Hawaii, that's because the demand for the fixed number of tickets is less. And they're trying to incentivize the purchase of those tickets. But the cost of fuel is still the same. But then if they're able to offer the ticket at $200, then how do they not lose money on the cost of fuel used?
Well, they are losing money. That's why Trump says he's going to bail them out.
No. Hold on.
Yeah.
Does that mean that the cost of fuel was less per unit than we've ever been told? to get to anywhere because they're able to offer the $200 ticket, because businesses don't do things that they lose money on. So it makes me wonder.
Maybe if it is like an emergency situation, maybe they're just trying to, like, not just trying to slow the thing down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Not to just go completely under, because the stock crash that happened was the biggest since 2008. The one that happened like literally 3 days ago. I saw that.
I think it's the beginning, to be honest. We'll see what happens, but
like
By the way,
whatever.
can you guys hear my music or no?
No.
Yeah, they're just trying to stay afloat, Omar, by
Should we be hearing
offering
music?
anything and everything, I guess.
Thanks for welcoming me. I came on since I listened to the last call with Becky. Hi, I like Zoom better than YouTube or Facebook. This is from Annie. So I think she's just listening in. Annie, if you want to say hello, maybe you can click the little thing that's mute, unless you're intentionally not visually or verbally joining us. Either way, thanks for hopping on. Yeah, so carry on.
Oh, so Annie, if you want to watch old archives, I guess if you're coming from YouTube, they're all there already. But if you go to trueform.org, at the top there's an archive to previous Snail shows, and that's a web page that I put together and maintain.
Yeah, Omar, you're one of the most active people that I know in terms of actually doing creative work. I think a lot of people are either insane or they're trying to do the same thing over and over and over, while the world is apparently falling to pieces outside the door. So, yeah.
I had an ex-girlfriend that drove me crazy, but she was very, very good for a lot of number of reasons. She kind of cracked my head open for a little while. One of the things that she said was, and it's nothing new, I'd heard it before, but she said the only thing that's constant in the world is change. So I kind of embraced that and decided to always just sort of like keep one eye on looking at what's going on and then keep the other eye focused on what I'm trying to do, and then occasionally put both eyes in one place and then both eyes in the other place and see what happens.
Well, that's smart. I mean, they want everyone's attentions, right? Like the powers that be actually crave the attention and the anxiety and the fear. So the more power you give them, the greater power they have to bring it back to us.
And it makes me wonder, and this is probably not going to be popular, but is it just that it's a function of being compartmentalized and feeling minimalized within the context of going from being a kid to being an adult and what you think you can do in the world and then what reality is? Or is it actually a construct to itself? Because, like, perfect example. So you guys know I roast coffee, and it's pretty good coffee. It may not be the best coffee in the world, but it
is the best coffee in the world.
Thank you. That's super sweet. But I can't seem to get people to buy coffee, and I know they drink it.
I do. I see your dilemma. I understand.
Expectations versus reality. And so this whole thing with the fear construct and, loosh this and loosh that, I think it may be using imagination to ascribe too much power to something that's taken on its own personality in the collective mindset of people. And it's not really that big of a deal if you don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think, for instance, like for me personally, during this particular thing, the pandemic fears, like I'm a little bit interested in it only because it's bigger than the other sort of stuff that the news has gone on about. But in terms of it actually affecting me personally, like in terms of fear, there's literally none whatsoever.
Yeah, same here. Honestly, I think that the government is 100 times scarier. They're going to start shutting everything down, and the emergency implementation and all that.
I would honestly, like, you may not like me saying this, but I would actually like if like the thing started going crazy and they started hurting people. Like, it would make the thing interesting. It's boring to me right now. The level of control that keeps people, the economic infrastructure that forces people like us, people who want to be creative, to be doing the things like you're doing, Daniel, which is sit around and guard some bullshit, which, like, that's what you're doing for your living, right? You don't enjoy that. You would rather be doing something else, but it doesn't
drive around. But
yeah, it doesn't provide like the means for creative living and getting paid for it. It does not provide the means. It makes it really fucking boring. Like, I want the thing to explode.
Well, my dad said something interesting
out of
yesterday.
that can come really great things. You're right. Out of things, out of situations like that can come a lot of creativity. So you're right.
My dad and I were talking yesterday, and he said something really interesting. He said, Omar, as this whole thing sort of unfolds and plays out, stores may close and only be open for a few hours a day, or, you may see, like, restaurants just, like, the lights out, on weekends or on Wednesdays or something. But what he said is the system will scale itself to what it needs to do, and that's completely normal. It's a needs-based supply and demand thing. But what he said that I found interesting is he said just because that's happening, it's not a bad thing. Everybody will adjust their needs accordingly as well, because the businesses are responding to what the perceived and actual need is of, like, the people that use them. So nobody's showing up. They might close the next week on that day.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, Gary, I think you're absolutely right. And Daniel, we have way too much chaff in the infrastructure, and maintaining all the chaff. Just think about when you move into a new apartment. I have 16 boxes that I've still unpacked, and the whole time we've been doing this show, I still have these boxes that I've unpacked. And Daniel's seen my kitchen. There's boxes in my kitchen.
Yeah, there is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what the fuck is in them? I don't know what's in them. It doesn't matter. I haven't even... So, if we eliminate some of this chaff in the infrastructure, then I think the process of it contracting on its own in an intelligent fashion will actually be really beneficial, because we've got too much stuff in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? I got an example of what Gary was just talking about that explosion of creativity. Well, what came out of the Black Plague? What happened after the Black Plague? The Renaissance. Just think about that for a minute.
That's because humans were excited that they didn't die, and they decided to start living for a while.
Right.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, we didn't live at that time, so we can't really know, but yeah.
I'm guessing, yeah, but
Or
human
maybe we
nature
did
is
live at that
funny.
time, we just don't remember a past life.
Human nature is funny in the sense that even though you don't really have any sort of time in that, if you took your watch off, you only have the given moment that you're moving through physically. But the funny thing is, we tend to lose sight of relativism in our perspective. Like, we don't really remember what we ate yesterday, and we don't really remember if we were upset yesterday unless it gets brought up somehow. But just in that sense, like, there's something there about I lost my point completely, but there's something about what Daniel said with the Renaissance.
Yeah,
I remember what I ate yesterday, by the way.
Hey, hold on, guys. If I can pause real quick, we need to refresh the deal to
For sure.
placate the money gods.
Okay.
So I'm gonna restart the meeting and send the link again. Daniel, I'll send it to your email. And anyone who's watching, please hop on. I would like to see some new faces if possible. So
Okay. All right. See you in a minute.
See you in a bit. Okay.
Sweet. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Round two.
My work got sort of canceled for next week. With Stellan.
How much?
Hmm?
With Stellan?
Yeah.
Because did his school get shut down?
His school's closed, and the dad's work is canceled.
Are we gonna get into our apartment? Is this even possible?
She still wants me to come one day, but I was supposed to go 3 days.
Is the world actually ending? Okay. So let's go invite. Copy URL. First, I will go to Daniel. Okay. Then we go to the internet. Seems a little slow right now. Is it? Is the internet slow? Yaldi can't handle the amount of shit that he's been spewing out lately. All of his canals are closed. Okay, then we go here. Then we go to what? Link full pop 2. And then we go here to Ookie dookie. Susie, can you hear me? We back? Oh, I know what I can do. Where is Omar? Omar. Oh, he's already here. Maybe, I don't know if the internet is messed up. It feels a little slower on my end. Can you hear me okay, Daniel?
Yeah. I was hoping your Russian friend would come back because he could relate to the hat. Is he here?
He might come back.
Okay. All right.
We have an Irish lassie, I believe.
Okay.
I think Susie, you're from Ireland, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Welcome back, Susie. I know I had you on the show somewhere around a year ago.
I don't know if the internet is messed up. It feels a little slower on my end.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Diana?
Why am I having?
I can hear you. It's a little bit fuzzy, but I can hear you because you can relate to the hat. Is he here? He might come back. All right. What was that?
Hold on. I gotta figure out what's going on.
Okay, I think Susie, you're from Ireland, right?
Okay, I'm turning my sound off for just a second, and I need to find out where the redundancy is. Let's close Facebook. So long as this is not... Okay, that audio is cut. Okay. Hey, C. Lambden. Welcome.
How many people are in here? I only see 5.
There's only 5. Something was getting repeated.
Oh, okay.
Susie, do you have visual or you're going audio only intentionally? Okay. Welcome back.
I got the food cooked.
Nice.
Oh, that's basically what you made me when I was there. It looks very clear.
This is sweet potatoes, beef, garlic, some spices, but some crushed mint, crushed cilantro, some ghee. But ethnic people tend to eat lots of rice and meat and vegetables. So how many things are there to eat anyway? Animal, mineral, vegetable, rice, meat, grain, fish.
I don't know.
I'm joking, but yeah, it should be pretty good.
It looks good, Omar. Send me some in the mail, okay? USPS Express. It'll get here tomorrow. You can put it inside of a thermos so it will stay warm.
You know, I used to joke about actually just buying dry ice and vacuum food and sending it around, but too much liability. I mean, what if you got the runs or something?
On a technical basis, is that legal? Do you know?
If you have a license for it, and you take out the insurance, then yeah, but
hey,
it's not something I would want to do. It'd be funny.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Susie, how is it in Ireland? Like, how's the political climate there, and how's it when you actually go outside of your house?
It looks pretty normal when you go outside. People are still moving about, but they've cancelled most events. So, and I think more stuff is going to get cancelled. For me personally, it doesn't. It just feels like my normal life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are stores empty?
There's a bit of panic buying going on.
Okay. It's pretty much the same as everywhere.
Yeah.
I haven't heard. Oh, aside from that, JoJo said, and she sent me a voice message yesterday, also reiterating what she thought happened. Like, she said her and 2 other women were at a grocery store, and they saw on the news that someone proclaimed we are now under martial law, and this is what's happening. And all 3 of the women saw that. They're like, okay. So they went home and started, finding where their children are at and doing all the things that you would need to do. And then she said she posted it on Facebook that martial law had been declared in.
Where's JoJo? Sorry.
Where is JoJo? I don't remember.
In the U.S.
She's on the East Coast. I don't remember the exact state. But then she posted it on Facebook and I saw the post where she was like, "Oh yeah, we're under martial law." Then a bunch of people called her out and just said, "This is bullshit. This state is not under martial law." And so she was experiencing some Mandela effect of sorts, where she heard it on the TV, and the women around her also confirmed that that's what they heard, and then they went back and it flipped itself somehow.
Wow, that's.
Well, yesterday I actually had a good friend of mine whose grandfather is a high-level Mason. She told me he was warned to go home before Sunday because there would be some kind of declaration of martial law. But what I think is interesting is most likely if that was to ever be officially declared, nobody would know it happened anyway because they wouldn't want that to be the case. But even weirder, I think that
how would nobody know? Don't they have to be? Martial law means that police are running up and down the streets, right? Is that not what it is?
Well, that's what I would assume. But by the statutes we live under on a daily basis, there's been a perpetual state of emergency declared by every standing president since 1939. I'm serious. It's an executive order that gets renewed silently every year. So we technically live in a bubble inside a bubble inside a bubble as far as the laws that we're operating under. Because there is no common law. The Constitution doesn't apply to people, but it applies in the sense of how people are supposed to treat other people, but it doesn't apply in the sense of how the people's rights are viewed by the topmost governing law body. It's kind of weird. It's hard to explain as well. I don't want that to be anything I just said to be taken definitively because that's not an accurate representation of what I'm trying to convey.
Okay, I kind of understand what you're saying. I would like to ask the question and see if anybody has any thoughts on this. Do the higher ups, in your guys' opinion, actually have a comprehensive view of us as multidimensional beings? Because as far as the law is concerned, people are either persons, which is like the straw man bullshit, which has very little to do with us, or else we're seen as an anomaly, or like Black's Law Dictionary said, human is a beast incapable owning or doing trade and business, right? Owning property or doing trade. Is there some hidden aspect of the so-called control structure that does know us as multidimensional beings, possibly playing in a playground,
I think so.
Playground, and is there a way that we can access the part that we actually have laws that are applied to us as multidimensional beings and something that we can get down with, and it's not such a fucking confusing just mess when you look out there and try to find out what is your position with regards to the control structure?
I do think they see us as that, yes.
As multidimensional.
Yeah, I do. Well, because the true control, can't talk today. The true control structure is multidimensional itself. The real one.
Yeah.
But I wanted to mention something about martial law. So I'm not entirely sure if it would actually be practically implemented for a couple of reasons. Because I don't know if we even have enough soldiers.
I don't think we do.
A lot of soldiers we do have are on bases overseas.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them are patriots who wouldn't be willing to do that to American citizens. So it's kind of a tough question. Like, would they even be able to practically implement it? If they can, I think, if they really wanted to, I think they would use UN or NATO troops.
But are there enough UN or NATO troops? I mean,
there are. For that, I think there are.
For the United States or for the entire world?
For the UN, they just send them all here. If you really wanted them martial law, they'll ship them all over here. I don't think it would work practically with U.S. soldiers, though.
Not to mention, Americans are all about their guns. Like, Americans, even if they're fully saturated with propaganda, they have still always held on to that gun as if it was their...
Exactly. So that it's not practical. It's not... They would have to... It would just be a mess, like a logistical mess if they attempted it. I mean, I don't know what they have, what they're capable of. So I'm just speculating. Like, maybe they have a lot more capacity than I'm aware of. I mean, I don't really know. So
it feels to me like they don't have power anymore. Maybe they did before, but it feels like they don't. Like this,
it feels like the opposite. It feels like they're losing control.
Yeah.
Instead of gaining control.
Yeah, because like we don't see anything when we look with our eyeballs outside, except for some empty shelves that have been stripped of toilet paper and canned goods, like we don't.
And when the Federal Reserve is saying that they have to pump $500 billion a day into the banking system now, that's not like, looking at that, it's like you're losing control. I mean, that's just.
Hey, real important note, brief note on that, Daniel. Have you read Modern Money Mechanics?
No.
Okay, I'll send you a link if you want. It's a 40-page workbook that the Federal Reserve wrote.
Okay.
Long time ago. It's real interesting, but basically, to quote a page in there, for every dollar created, up to $100,000 are pumped into the system via deposit expansion, and that's the process of what that $1 can mathematically become as it's moved around in different transactions or deposits, bank to bank or transaction to transaction. So every time you see that 1.5 trillion, divide by 100,000, and that's how much more money they're putting into the system to offset equilibrium. So, hold on. What that actually means is just to maintain the system as it currently supports all of the different things it's supporting, they have to now equalize it because it's reached the mathematical tipping point where calculators wouldn't be able to compute the values that the system is outputting because they've now gone into imaginary numbers. So the
unfunded liabilities are imaginary in themselves. That's
no,
really
not even that. That's getting too complicated. They're adding 100,000 they're adding that factor each day to keep the system having any value because
You're saying, Omar, they're just simplifying the numbers. Is that what you're saying? They're reducing the fraction.
It has a huge base, but what they're actually, the value is here. The value is not here. The what it looks like is down here. What they put in is here. And the way they did the math, it creates the thing on the bottom.
Omar,
so they're adding 100,000 or whatever each day to keep what's at the top and the bottom equal, because if they don't, what's at the bottom will contract, and then what's at the top will no longer be there because the bottom will absorb the top and the entire thing will collapse into itself.
Well, what do you think about Trump begging the Fed for negative rates? Well,
he doesn't understand how
left pay the bank to keep her money in the bank.
He may or may not understand how math works, because that wouldn't. The only way that's complicated because there's like three ways to go about this. What he's saying, what they're doing, what he's saying, what the Fed is doing, and then the other one would be to incrementally ease into a completely different system. So that's all I can say about that.
Omar, I just wanted to see if I could clarify what you were saying about the injection of $500 billion, and then you were saying divide that by 100,000, I think you said?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I feel like what you're saying is the calculations that are required to even keep any sense of coherence in the economic system involve such incredibly large numbers that computers are beginning to not able to handle them. So what you're saying is happening is something that was formerly represented as a fraction as something like 5,000 to 50, right? You just chop off a zero at each end, and the fraction remains the same, but you're not using as large of numbers. Is that any more clear?
Oh, I see what you mean. No. What I mean more clearly is so the system has a beginning number, say $10, and then the way that they did the math, so that it's kind of like saying, here, let me give everybody an apple, but if everybody wants apples and they can't distribute apples to everybody and still have the original apple be worth something, then they just chop the apples into lots of pieces, and then everybody gets a piece of an apple, and then everybody's happy, and then they can trade their pieces of apples. But nobody ever has a whole apple. See, so you don't really have an apple. So what ends up happening?
Talk about fractional reserve
Jesus
banking.
Christ, this is really complicated. It's hard for me to try to figure this out to explain it. So you have all these people trading pieces of apples, and at the end of the day, when you go to the bank and you're like, I would like 5 apples, they're like, okay, here's 5 apples. But they actually don't have 5 apples. They have fractions of apples, and they're giving you a representative value that says you now have 5 apples. So that's how the system expands.
Fractional reserve banking.
That's how you take out loans, for example. You ask for a certain number of apples, and then you get a loan that says, I now have this many apples. Mm-hmm. But as you can imagine, this devalues the total number of apples or pieces of apples in the fish tank. So, Gary, what I was actually saying is you get...
Shush!
He disagrees.
You get this number put into the system to equalize the system, or injection of cash. What they're really doing is saying, because we've lent out too many apples that we didn't actually have in the beginning, even taking into account that weird thing where you can take apples from the bank that the bank doesn't have, that system is broken mathematically to the point where calculators can't divide it, not because they don't have the computing power, but because the numbers would actually end up being error divided by 0, because if you divide 1 by 25, on the calculator, you get a small fraction. And if you keep hitting equals, it'll get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and they keep getting more zeros as you go to the right.
And you got to go way off in the distance to find the numbers, right?
Yeah, then it'll be like 001, and then like the calculator will say error. We're at the point where the calculator says error, and they have to keep adding money to the system to keep it saying 0.00000025.
I like that. That makes
Does
sense.
that make sense now?
Yeah. So,
Gary, does that answer your question?
Yeah, you're just saying
things.
the thing has been. This is representative of our consciousness as well. It's just been fragmented and fractured, and it's doing the branch.
Oh, Lord, hold on a second. Do you understand your original question first?
My original. Oh, about the. I feel like it's what I said, but it's on the reverse side of the scale. It's instead of the numbers getting too big and you have to, reduce the fraction to make it manageable. The numbers are getting too tiny, and you have to add supposed value in order to bring the number back toward the center line.
Yes, because the Federal Reserve operates on what's called a fractional reserve banking system. There's a certain amount that they can take out, and there's a certain amount that they can expand by and contract by mathematically, and there's rules.
Mm-hmm.
But you're beginning with a fraction. Fractional reserve it applies to both the input value and then the output value and then the secondary input values from people and banks. So you really have this really weird math game, and it's actually surprisingly simple, but the effect is surprisingly complex when actual people and things become involved, because it's hard to scale that conceptually to reality.
Yes. Daniel says his computer shut off.
Oh.
So, I'm kind of surprised we don't have more people showing up, but maybe it's because Fedbook didn't share my post to very many people.
Oh, speaking of, did you look at My Tribes yet? It's.
I did. I saw the new format. I like it, like where the scroll is including everyone's like on the same page kind of thing. Everyone's.
It's very changeable, like the way everything looks. But the point is this. All I wanted to say was that this new system is very. It's very well thought out. The other one is like coded by one guy. This has a whole team of people working on it, and it's been around for a number of years.
Your My Tribes, or just the way that you're using the format and template?
The software that I'm implementing and configuring for that website.
Okay.
It's written by the main developer page is UNA.io.
UNA.
If you wanted to see like how they present themselves.
Okay. Yeah. Did you see Chris Geo's comment, Omar? About Trump?
Where?
About Trump, I guess yesterday. He said, I'm really worried on Facebook. I'm really worried about Trump. I just watched him declare state of emergency. He doesn't seem like himself. He's not speaking the same way. His mannerisms are different, and his actions seem contrary to what he would usually do. Did they finally take him out and replace him with a clone? He seems like he's under duress. He's speaking like a hostage forced to read a note from kidnappers.
Yeah. I think that they replaced him about a year ago. And Chris Geo, that's the guy from Beyond the Veil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like Chris. He's a cool guy.
Yeah. I buy his iLife regularly.
Does it do anything for you?
It's great. I highly recommend it. It's really good for sleep. It gives you feel a lot calmer, and it's wonderful. It makes you feel healthier.
Okay.
Yeah.
The book, Daniel, and Gary, if you go to type in a URL, type in trims like trims with scissors, trims.me/MMM for modern money mechanics.
Oh, this is that bank paper?
Yeah. Trims.me/MMM.
Okay.
I'm going to look that up too.
I did.
And you don't need a www or an HTTP or any of that shit. Just trims.me/MMM.
Is it layman's terms and how they're explaining it?
No, it's written by the Fed for internal use, but it's in English.
Okay.
And it's literally only 40 pages.
Okay. Do you think, Omar, that we're at the point beyond which there is no more salvaging of this system, or do you think they can keep pumping $500 billion per day?
It's so complex because of the reasons of it actually being scaled to goods and services and things that it's kind of a strange. It's a very complicated question, but the very simple answer is this is a temporary solution while they either figure out what they'd like to do or are doing something different. Because the consequence of not doing anything is we would, within days or weeks, be thrown into hyperinflation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then we would have
or
to
a banking freeze.
We would
or
have
a
to
credit
do
freeze.
we'd have to do the modern equivalent of carrying around wheelbarrows full of cash, which doesn't make sense because everything's digital now, but whatever the modern equivalent of that is.
Well, if you notice, the rates for the last few years have been like really low, like under 1%.
I only noticed that for savings accounts.
Oh, well, when the rates are that low, it means that they have to divide by that much to equalize it, because that's how much the ratio scalar is going out. So if the rate was really high, that would mean that there's not a lot of value supposedly in the system, but if the rate's really low, there's too much value in the system. But when the rate gets super, super, super low, like if they were like, the rate for a new loan is 0.0, or for it's like 0.025 instead of like 0.2 or 0.25, like points on a house loan,
Mm-hmm.
then that would indicate that the system is about to collapse because they have to divide by numbers that almost don't exist to equalize the system on the other end.
Well, they cut the interest rates by 50 basis points a couple of weeks ago, and they're meeting again on Tuesday, and I think they're going to cut them again.
Oh, I've jumped to another part of the maths. Basis points is a conflated arbitrary value. I'm just going off of what I've read from the workbook.
Basis points?
So that's like a representative scale. Basis points.
What are basis points?
Percents. It's just percent. The percentage on the loan, not the loan. The freaking interest rates that the Fed implements for what do you call it? Crap. I can't think right now.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about, Omar.
The scalar is that it modulates against the total percentage. Okay.
It's
The system is broken to begin with, and there's a very simple reason for that, and that's because the interest never existed in the first place.
Well, yeah, because the entire system is just designed to maintain, order. So,
well, the Federal Reserve it basically loans the U.S. government money, and they charge interest on what they loan. So when I say they cut rates, they're cutting the rate to how much interest they're charging to loan the banks and the government.
Can I? Okay, I want to say something again that I've said in the past, and I don't know if it's fully accurate. I feel like it's pretty accurate, but I see the system as a viral, pathogenic system.
Yeah.
It grows itself, and the way that it grows is through interest, and that reason being that the interest doesn't exist in the closed system that it started out in. So if it starts out in 50 people, right, and you have people giving loans with interest, that money needs to come from outside of this closed loop system, so you need more people, therefore you need more people to be born, right? It's going to keep increasing itself and increasing the population of the people to create something to fill this phantom void
Right.
But you're going to reach the carrying capacity of the planet at some point, and you're going to have to jump out into the sky and go find other planetary systems to conquest and rape and pillage and whatnot. That's how I see the system.
Well,
It's very nasty.
they're cutting interest rates to try to encourage more borrowing. Am I right, Omar?
I don't know. I was eating.
Does that make sense to you,
and
Omar?
My brain got stuck on the comment that, well, we could just get rid of China and India. But I like China and I like India, but there are a lot of people there.
Omar, what do you think about that theory I just said? Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense.
That's why that's why I said the thing about China and India, because if we got rid of them, we'd have another 5 billion people to repeat the problem over again later.
That's pretty dark, man.
I'm kidding. God damn it. I don't condone genocide.
Hey, Spencer's joining.
Oh, cool.
What is that behind them? Is that like a giant upright bass or something?
That's a cello.
Cello.
That is, wow. Okay. So, I haven't been on Facebook in a long time.
Lucky you.
And,
Yes.
it's actually had a really big effect on me.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you feel more cheerful and connected to your actual life?
Yeah. Quite literally, that's actually literally true. Like, I feel like I can, like, communicate more with people outside and things like that.
Yep.
Like, I feel more free. That's the only way I could describe it.
Well, it's true. Well, okay, like, Facebook is not... It can be utilized for something beneficial to us, but it also has the addictive component, like the ex-vice president of Facebook specifically and explicitly said when he found out that they designed the feed function to be addictive, he said, no, I don't. He stepped down from his position. And he said, my kids are not going to be on Facebook anymore. Is everyone frozen? Are we done?
I don't know. I turned off my video because I wasn't sure if it was going to help.
Is it buffering? Is it all fucked up somehow? Okay, yeah.
Oh, hey, Spencer.
I can hear everybody just fine.
Oh, Spencer is here. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, everybody?
Dude, your hair is longer than mine. Nice.
Is it? That's almost mermaid length. It almost reaches down to that. Almost.
You're a merman.
Mermaid.
Well, you see, if I actually pull it out, it gets, but it's curly, so. It gets longer.
I need to grow my hair. I need to join you guys. I feel like
Please do it.
I feel like I'm a holdout.
Grow out your antenna.
Sorry, I don't know why that happened again. Sorry.
You should, Gary. It's fun. You won't get people expecting that you can help them in public when you go outside.
Really?
Yeah, when you walk out of your car, like if you look disoriented, they'll assume you're on drugs, and people will tell you things like, "No, I don't have any money."
On drugs and or homeless.
True story. 2 years ago, I was walking into Trader Joe's, and I was like walking in circles, smoking a cigarette, and I walked past this guy and said, "Hey, man!" And then before I could say "nice car," because he'd just gotten out of like a '67 Corvette, he said, "No, sorry, I don't have any money." And I'm like, dude, I'm wearing pants and a shirt and shoes. What the fuck?
Oh, I don't want your money. I just want your car.
I just wanted to say "nice car," man.
What did he like apologize or did he acknowledge that you were
No,
homeless?
he was a total dick about it. Spencer, where do you live, by the way?
Houston, Texas. God help us all.
Oh, okay. By the way, I wanted to ask you, are you currently, what was it? Gary had mentioned me to you, like, just like, hey, you should check this guy out. He's pretty cool. And then I looked you up, and then I found out that you were like, what is it? Some kind of furrier position on a base or something? Are you still doing that?
That's a fucking awesome question.
I've had a lot of. If anybody has ever kept up with like the cloning center crowd and what all those people think and feel about what the hell's going on in the world, I'm kind of one of the staple points in that. Whether I like it or not.
I meant above ground. Like I pulled up like a
bases. I've been a base driver. Like I have missing time on bases and things like that.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, like you log time above ground on the base.
He's told stories.
Within the last few years.
This was back in 2012.
Oh, okay.
Towards the end of the year, actually. A couple days before December 12th, 2012, we had some shit happen to where there was drilling. We didn't know it was drilling, like huge boring machines underground. Because the area we lived at in Virginia at the time, there was a lot of low-flying jet aircraft, because that's where the Navy base is, and that's all they do all day is just fly aircraft super low over suburban areas and rattle every building. So when it's super late at night and then you hear a very unique kind of rattling that doesn't match the jets, you go outside and wondering what it is, and you start seeing everybody who's local outside looking up at the sky, like looking around, trying to figure out where the fucking noise is coming from. And it sounds like it's coming from everywhere. That's what was so strange, is that there was
they do the VLF and ULF stuff like that up at Beale.
Where is that?
Beale is by Sacramento, Yuba City.
Oh, Beale. Yeah, okay. I thought you said Veal, like a small...
Oh, no. Because my uncle, he used to be flight line for SR-71 and the U-2 and a couple other planes. And then he retired and did a number of years as a base guard at Beale. And then he works for M2. You know, the retrofit company.
Right.
But whenever I'd go up to his house and visit him, he's got kind of like this little 1-acre farm in Marysville. It's just like, you know, he used to have goats and shit before they ate each other. But or the dog ate a goat or something weird happened. But he doesn't have goats now. But you'd go outside at night in his backyard through the tall grass and all that, and you could see the lights and the towers on the base, and every once in a while you would just hear weird fucking humming like that. And I asked him what it was one day, and he said, oh, they've got a lot of sonic equipment that they fuck around with. Don't worry about it.
We don't get paid enough to worry about that.
Well, I mean, off the record, I asked him what it was, and off the record, he confirmed what I thought it was, but without breaking his confidentiality.
So
was it a fifth wave type audio sonic boom weapon type thing?
I don't know what that. I mean, I could extrapolate things, but no. All he said is that they do a lot of stuff with ultra low frequency and very low frequency waveforms at that base because they transmit to different locations, either packets of information or they're actually relaying to other signal centers.
Frequency war. Communicate.
What's that?
It's a hell of a way to communicate.
Well, it sure is a lot easier than sending it unencrypted over microwave.
Spencer, do you have anything to share on thoughts on the current COVID-19 thing? Or do you feel like, what do you feel about that?
I've been outside every single day for the last 2 weeks, walking at least 3 miles a day. And what I've seen is a couple of the places around here, like our HEBs, which is like the biggest chain down here, more or less. They're either closing early or taking some pretty absurd precautions in areas where it doesn't really seem to require preemptiveness. So the initial like jerk reaction is that it's a test run for seeing just how much they can inundate people with. But I mean, I thought we kind of got all that shit out of the way back in 2001. Mm-hmm. But I guess not, because things have changed. I've seen sneeze guards. My roommate Joseph, who works at Whole Foods, where we used to both work together, he said that he's seeing people in there now that it's becoming like health consciousness is becoming a lot more centered and focused. So hopefully, after all this shiz levels out, we'll I don't know. Hopefully, see like West McDonald's and shit. I don't know. We'll see.
You know, I actually had this thought the other day about what you just said, that maybe now the good consequence of this is Americans will finally start thinking about their health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
it would be a nice indirect way to trigger much less healthcare overhead expenditure than because people don't listen unless they're afraid, because that's how they've been conditioned. So when you take and you scare everybody, then suddenly they'll start taking stock.
we have to
don't get
refresh
me
you
wrong.
guys.
I love scaring folks.
Sorry to interrupt, but this thing's gonna shut itself off. So if you guys want to do a round 3, we can do one more.
Let's do it, man.
Yep. Okay. I'll see you on the other side.
Okie dokie.
Bye. Round 3. Someday I'll be able to afford to pay for Zoom.
Yes.
That day is not today. Someone say what the fuck about something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll share the link for you guys on here as well. If anyone new wants to come in. Finished your snail. Okay, so that's... Can you guys click that link? I want to... Maybe you can try it. Can you click that link?
This one?
Yeah. See if you can hop on the show. I want to bring anybody in who wants to join. Oh, nice. Gotta turn the sound up. Thank you. So yes, anybody can join if you'd like. Just click on that link I just posted in comments. Join Spencer, Daniel, and I, and Andrea. And we can have a chat. Okay, how do I do this? Where am I going? Gmail. What am I doing? What is going on? Does anybody know? Oh, the fundraiser is going extremely well. It's at $741 in about a week. Very, very good. Okay, that's to Dan. There we go. Send Omar a text. Then we go Facebook. Go to the groups. Jenny's live too. Okay. God damn it, that's not what I wanted to do. I don't want recommendations. No. There's that. Here's this one. Okay, I think that's about it. Oh, maybe go to the...
So real quick before everybody jumps in, my tribes is ready for you to create the Snail Collective group there. The software works. It works well enough to do that. So just know that.
Okay.
When you make your profile, you'll see a plus sign in the upper right, and if you click the plus, you can create the new group there in about 5-6 keystrokes.
Okay. Thanks, Omar. I'm going to get more into all of that once we move in. We've had the most chaotic, just everything this entire time we've been here. So I have been intentionally not, like, going into lots of things. I'm intentionally not doing chess stuff here. I've been putting, like, almost all my energy into getting us into our place, our little bit of stability, and we finally got that. So once we're there, which is going to be next weekend, I'm going to go into the more finer details and nuance points. And
so you planned out a completely disciplined. Okay, got it.
Disciplined what?
Structure. Most people aren't able to impose that on themselves. They lack that level of self-discipline.
Mm-hmm. We've been very disciplined here, and it has been extremely chaotic. We don't even share what goes on with us, but it's been, like, it couldn't get more chaotic if it tried. Okay, let's see. Make sure Spencer has the link.
He's in now.
Oh, he's in?
Oh, hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. So, I don't know if Daniel's coming back. He said his computer was dying or something.
His wife may have also gotten mad at him.
Oh, yeah, this is... Yeah, I forgot about that. This is his wifey time.
Oh, God.
I think he said after the morning he gets, a little bit of a face slap if he's not spending time with her. I'm not. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing Daniel. I'm just teasing you. Okay, don't take
No judgment from me either. That's just their business. Hey, there he is.
Welcome back, Daniel.
What about Daniel?
Wait. You'll have to wait an hour to refresh the video to see what he's doing. I had postulated that maybe you weren't coming back because it was time to hang out with your wife, but I didn't mean bad by it.
We're just talking shit. Don't worry about it.
I actually just made a cup of coffee. Sorry.
Oh, sweet.
A really crappy coffee compared to yours.
Oh, dude, you can just buy some, and then you can just make it and hack your way at it at home.
You know what? I think I'll do that, actually.
Yeah. Oh, Omar, we need to, when I actually have time to devote to my own life, which should happen soon here, I want to help you with your coffee thing, because there's literally no reason why people shouldn't be buying high-quality coffee. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly.
That would be fantastic, and I look forward to that when that happens.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to actually... I want to play in this silly video game that we're in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been living my entire life, and the system is so intricately designed to suppress us as multidimensional beings that I have not personally had any time to live my own life, so to speak. So I do want to, like, get into the meeting people, the moving around, the playing, the adventures, make a business. The Geos are going down to Las Vegas to make a bunch of money. Like, they're playing the freaking video game. I haven't been able to play the game yet.
Why did they move to Las Vegas?
They didn't move yet. They're trying to.
No, they did move.
Oh, they did move.
They just bought a house.
You're talking about Chris and Sherry?
Yeah.
Why Vegas?
I don't know.
They're trying to promote iAlife. They're trying to go into all the stores there and like sell their thing as like a mass.
That makes
marketed.
sense. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
Within the first 3 days of him posting videos from being in Vegas on YouTube or on Facebook Live, I had made a comment like, "If you're still there by Tuesday, warning, you should probably go home. Vegas is closed during the week." And he said, "No, we're still here." And I didn't realize he was moving there at the time.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It's okay.
I've got a good friend that lives there. He's been there like a decade.
Chris Geo kind of resembles Chris Angel, so it's fine. Vegas is good for me.
Who's Chris Angel?
Chris Angel? Come on, man. You don't know, really?
I have no clue.
He's a magician. And he kind of resembles Chris Geo.
This is a lot like saying Ram Dass kind of resembles any other person with long hair, but... Hey, Spencer, you look a lot like Ram Dass today.
Oh, thank you. Wait, let me just put this light behind my head for you.
Yeah, you
there you go.
You got the halo.
You look like a lot like Moses today.
Look, Jesus is
Jesus
back.
is back. He finally came. Jesus
By
finally.
the way, just for fun, I was making a logo out of coffee bags one day when I was playing with logo design, and I took a picture of Jesus and photoshopped it onto the coffee bag, and I knew I was in trouble because it was way too much fun. And on there, I screened Jesus at like 50%, right, so you could see the bag, but it wasn't like he was really there. It was like he was a specter. And then it said, the chosen being, in God's name we roast.
Wow, that's actually brilliant.
And I was thinking, like, you roast the beans, God's only begotten Son, and he was holding the lamb, and I thought, this is going to piss people off. I can't do this.
That's good. That's good, though. Just make sure that you're not, like, being mean to Jesus. Like,
No. I was trying to do it in earnest just to see what it would look like.
Yeah.
And I thought it looked clever as fuck, but I figured it would get misinterpreted way too easily.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't know.
now that we're talking about that, I'm curious what you guys think of the character of Jesus. Do you have an opinion?
He exists in time and space.
You know what? What's his name? Ben from Vat City. You guys know him, right? Like you?
No.
No. I had him on the
That
show.
sounds familiar.
I had him on the show once. Anyway, his mind is very good, and he posted a video saying that about the why, and he was saying the why, which is not only a divergent point, but it's also like a prompt for logic. Why does anything? He was saying that the why was the whole entire, like, that's what the progenitor represents, is the why. And he says that's the Christ figure, the Jesus figure, the one that first went out from, everything and went into split. That's what he's saying, the Jesus character. And that the Jesus character is us. Like, if you are a conscious being, then you are literally a piece of whoever first split into, a bunch of pieces, and it's not something that you need to be like, oh God, like Jesus sacrificed himself for me or this or that. No, it's like that's you before you split into a billion fucking pieces.
This is really simple, and I don't want to confuse anybody, but yes, what you're saying, yes, no, make a decision, logic, make a decision, on, off, yes, no, on, off, yes, no.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus being a metaphor for the person making the decision and in charge of the creation. And maybe it's just that simple, maybe it's not. I'm not trying to prove a point or be right, but just came to mind.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I don't know.
Because
I want to show you guys a book I've been reading. Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, before Melissa, if you're still listening, please click on that link. Please come in. Please play the intro you're talking about because I want to hear it. And if you can't do that, then send it to me somehow.
Who's the author? Who's the editor on that one?
Actually, this is 3 different versions of the book. Ethiopian Book of Enoch, the Slavonic Secrets of Enoch, and the Hebrew Book of Enoch.
No. Sorry. My question actually is, who is the person attributed to typesetting each one of those editions?
Somebody named Paul Schneider.
Oh, I haven't actually heard of that one. I'll look into it. Thank you.
Okay. Really interesting. It's kind of like Genesis, but with a twist. Really weird stuff in this book. Really weird.
I've read the, I actually have 2 or 3 versions of that book of Enoch. One of them is the stitch-in version, and the other 2 are written by somebody else. But if you remind me later, I can get those to you.
Okay, cool.
Where did Spencer go?
He's here. He's just connection.
Yeah, it kind of cut out when we started talking about Jesus. With that thing. where
That's
my
no-
phone just turns off and turns back on. I love it so much.
Are you sure that wasn't just like you insulating yourself from saying something potentially inflammatory?
Maybe in the future somehow I learned to reach back through time and cause all of these fucking problems for myself, and like it just goes to show it doesn't matter what time, I still don't fucking listen. So, maybe.
I've wondered that
Yeah.
because I have this weird thing where I can access, I mean, not really so much events for other people unless I specifically think about it, but I have a memory of myself like millions and millions of years back, and it makes me wonder how much my future me has memory of my present me and how they scale together.
Well, it's all connected, isn't it? It has to be. The fabric.
It's like a
Everything
giant
is connected.
shoebox. We're inside of a giant diorama shoebox, and there's things hanging together with little. Hang a piece of a CD-ROM off of a fishing line, and then just do that a bunch of times.
Well, your soul is like a mosaic. It's like a piece of you is here right now, which is part of a greater mosaic of pieces that completes the full you.
Yeah, and doing all the digital imaging work and fractal work and graphic design stuff that I do, if you look at it, it gives me a much better appreciation for just how much math is in everything. If you look at a Veroni plugin, to compute a Veroni calculation on an image, it basically turns it into a mosaic. And, just scaling between different parameters in that mosaic, it's just fucking mind-boggling to extrapolate even just relativistically in your head the math that's involved in that.
Mhm.
And each source point in that image and how it's transforming it as a metaphor for what you were saying, Daniel.
Yeah.
It's the fractal universe, right?
Well, yeah, but he was saying it's like he was wondering how much. You were saying, what about your future self? How much he knows about your present self? Or can you repeat that, please?
I'm going to defer to time compression and go back to Spencer because I fucked up the comprehension of his point.
Fuck it. So,
Thank you for playing along. Okay.
yep, that's what we're here for. Maybe not to play and win, but at least to play and play well. Sorry, my tea. It's wafting. It smells so good. It's chamomile. It's very relaxing. So I've always lived probably the last at least 10 years of my life in the state of, like, I already know I'm going to have to watch all this again. I almost died at like 13 and had my little 13-year-old life flash before my eyes. So I already know that's some shit I'm going to have to process again. So if I'm going to have to watch this all twice, I have to take into consideration the man who's going to watch it in the end. And it's like, I could easily as much entertain him as much as I could ruin his fucking life. So, like, I try and keep that person in mind. And it goes along with the thought of, like, I wonder how much that person thinks about me, or, like, would view how I reacted to these situations, and, you know, what ultimately, you know, towards the end, which should hopefully be my best self, not the so much crotchety old man, but, like, the understanding, compassionate, empathetic old man who fucking always knows what to say and makes people laugh. Like, that's the dude I'm trying to look out for. So if I'm reaching out from here to there consciously all the fucking time, and that affects my habits and my patterns and my thoughts, then it makes me wonder, you know, how much can that person truly affect me, and is that the process by which, like, I'm being affected? Part of me has always thought that, you know, we have, like, there are certain things that are preordained, but not so much, like, in its wholeness, but, like, we're given bones. The bones make up the body, and if the bones are out of place, the body doesn't work as correctly as it should. So, like, you've got the bones, and then it's up to us to fill in the rest with the nervous system, the fascia, the tissues, the muscles, the skin, and all the other things. So, like, I wonder if, like our passions and things are preordained to some degree, and the fact that that all of this that's present isn't really the present, and then that present is the only real present, because that's the totality, is when we look back on all of this, and with time being split 1.5 million different ways makes one wonder, I think. But yeah, that's who I'm trying to look out for. That fucking guy.
You know, it's really interesting that you say all that, because I often wonder. I have a lot of different little facets of things that are floating around the internet and places to try to help people, but also to try to help organize all my thoughts, because there are too many of them. In this blog article I had written, it was talking about circles and ratios. And then Gary brings up this thing about, the logic and the split. And I'm like, yeah, on, off, yes, no. But how much are you moving in between taking the cell and moving the cell towards one side or the other side as you make all those decisions? And it's just this funny metaphor for how nothing is ever really finite, but everything is in a relationship and a ratio to your observation or your perspective as you're shifting yourself through what really is just a gigantic circle, but you're not aware that it's a circle.
A triangle.
I think it's a triangle inside of a circle, but that's not even the point.
Triangle looks cooler to me. I don't know.
I think the whole realm, it's a Schrodinger cat realm. It's like you see it, but you don't see it, and it's just impossible to grasp. And even now, when everything's spilling out into the observed, the so-called manifest, it's still as fucking confusing as it's always been. It's not like a bunch of shit's getting clarified now. It's just noisier.
Noisier. I like how you put that. Yeah, I agree. Man.
But at the same time, like, we're still as free as we have always been as individuals to take action and to move in ways that please us. We've never actually been in shackles. It's always been, maybe there's been a subtle underlying fear frequency that's been pumped out into the collective consciousness this entire time, but it's not, if you learn how to deal with that, then you're just as free to take action as always. Like Omar, you're free to take action to try and sell coffee to people who don't buy it. You know what I'm saying? You're not free to force people to buy it, but you're free to, like, post your wares in however you're able to.
Oh, I know. See, the funny thing is, my internal monologue says, if you talk about just your coffee all day, there are people you've known for 20 years that are going to just click the unfollow button. And that's because that's not who I am. It's just something that I do. So I make a concerted effort to display as much of a multifaceted representation of my being at all times as I'm comfortable with, and then occasionally delve off into a rabbit hole of one particular focus or another. But I'm never intentionally to be the person who becomes all about commerce, because that's wicked. I want to have people who read my page see things about me and things I'm passionate about and care about, and not just associate me with that I'm trying to sell coffee. That's actually one of the reasons that I've created mytribes.net, is because I want people to have a non-commercial version of Facebook that they know isn't data mining them. You can start an organization, but you can have your page, an organization, and a group. And I set it so you can have one organization per profile, or you can have multiple groups that you run and admin. But basically, the point is the format is completely different. It's recognizable, but it's enough of a paradigm shift in how it's laid out that you'll probably find it very refreshing. I mean, you can upload and share files I've set the threshold for video very high, so you can upload a 550 megabyte video. You can share PDFs. The point is, it's what it's supposed to do, and it's not crippled in any way, and that it's different enough. But that's the metaphor that I'm going for with how I represent myself. Is I don't want to just be considered ever to be just about one thing. I want people to understand, and I'm leading through example by showing them that if I'm this multi-dimensional, multifaceted, then what's to stop them from doing the same thing? And that's the sea change that I want to see in the world and hopefully inspire other people, is to have them be able to be whatever version of themselves at any given moment, fluidly, that they want to be. And so that's one of the reasons that I try to show that in all of these different modalities or projects that I'm doing, because they see that they're all coming from the same origination point, and that either makes them think one of two things: I'm fucking insane, or wow, that's amazing, how does that work? And I'm just trying to get people to realize they can do the same thing for themselves as creators.
Yeah. I like what you're doing, Omar. I condone. I know from my side, it's always been a tricky situation to speak publicly, and that's what you're doing. That's what having a webpage is. You're speaking publicly, and it's do you get good quality nodes, i.e. little consciousness packets that are called Daniel or called Gary or called whoever the fuck, right? Called Spencer. Like, it's, can you attract these quality consciousness nodes and actually interact in a sustainable manner without getting shut down by the beast system? Like, there's a whole bunch of things going on all at the same time, and then if you do attract some of them, is there enough things of value there to compete with the eon, like just there's so much other shit out there that's competing for our attention, like to get, like I consider myself vastly successful in the consciousness community just for being able to attract some people and for being able to have you guys come on here weekly. Like, I consider that a huge success compared to none. Like, it's hard to get traction in this community and actually be offering something of quality at the same time.
I agree completely with everything you just said. And I support what you're doing as well. You're expressing yourself freely, and that's of the utmost importance as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And that people are drawn to it is a sign that you're providing value.
Sorry, I'm trying to breathe coffee over here. They're sabotaging me.
It took every ounce of willpower not to just try to drink my coffee right before you did that, so I think my future self was guarding me from having the same experience.
Oh my god.
Because I almost had that exact experience. I was like, it looks so good. I want to drink it.
They almost took me out, you guys. You witnessed a severe attack right now.
So, Gary, you never told me what your opinion is of the virus.
The virus?
What do you think's actually going on? Exactly what they're telling us, or is there something more?
I like Andrea's idea that Jesus is coming back as a microbiological agent and cleaning house from the inside.
Really?
I didn't hear her say that. When did this happen?
I posted it on Facebook, but the Garbs didn't think that it was suitable material for most eyes, so only a few people saw it.
Did they put a cover over it?
Go look at my page, you'll see it there.
Oh,
Moon squads?
Oh, that's the other thing that's really great about my tracks. It doesn't censor anything you say because I'm in charge of it.
Hey, Omar, is that site running? I've been trying to go on and it doesn't let me.
MyTribes.net. Yeah, I installed a completely different software package and I put in 120 hours last week setting it up.
Wow.
Wow, jeez.
I'm gonna go join there, Omar. I'm not going to do it until we get our apartment because the world has been trying to fall apart before we get like an ounce of stability the entire time, and I would like to have at least like a day in our apartment before the world actually disappears. So just one day, we have our own place, and then apocalypse can happen and whatnot. But I want at least a day.
Are you with a roommate at the moment, or family or something?
We're in a basement in a sublet, and there's a bunch of people always making noise up top, and
Oh, okay.
it's not ours. We can't do what we want with it. We haven't had our own space literally since we met like over a year ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We've been what? We've lived in the car. We've lived with my dad. No, we haven't lived with my dad. We've lived in Vallejo with roommates. We've lived in Fresno with roommates. The roommate situation has never been good. We lived in Oregon with roommates.
Oh, man, that's rough.
We've had a very bumpy road, but it's been fun. Like, it's definitely... I mean, we visited so many people, right?
Yeah.
I haven't... I've told, like, 10% of the stories that have actually happened to me. Like, people, if they actually saw, like, how my life has been, they would just... Minds would blow up.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
I further insist that we live in a cartoon.
We do, for sure.
It is, like, it's not... I don't think it's something serious. I mean, it's serious in that pain is real, but aside from that, it's not serious. Like, and there's so much room. You have to learn a lot of shit. Like, I'm not gonna say, yeah, everyone just go and start doing what you want, because there are actual, even internally, like, you can have, like, Daniel, you know, like, you can have a panic attack out of nowhere and you cease functioning normally. Like, you have to go and reset yourself and figure out what the fuck is going on, but if you learn how to temper your own consciousness day to day, it's literally like wide the fuck open right now. Like you can, even in the midst of economic constriction, it's so wide open. Like, look it, you can do anything. It's free.
You know what? You just said something interesting here. So it's serious, but it's not serious. And the first thing that came to mind when you said that was when they announced Tom Hanks and his wife have that virus. I literally laughed out loud. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, how can you just can't make this stuff up. It's too ridiculous to be ridiculous.
Okay, I have another theory, which is not my own theory, but I like it, and that is that there has been a genetic marker placed on the adrenochrome molecule, and whoever has partaken of that substance, the COVID-19 was specifically designed to go after those people who have consumed adrenochrome. I personally love that particular
80,000
narrative.
Chinese citizens, though? I mean, that's kind of
But
weird.
they eat, dog. What they eat is in no comparison to what their kinks are. So
They're kinks?
yeah.
Well, I've lived in San Francisco for 5 years, so I know all about that. Yeah.
Well, Daniel, it doesn't necessarily have to be that it's only targeting them. Maybe it manifests as a flu-like thing in the regular populace that is susceptible to it, and in the ones that have consumed adrenochrome, it just dissolves them. Or maybe it dissolves the parasite that's been acting as like a implant for them for however long.
Well,
right?
you know that was, I don't know if you're aware, but quite a few years ago, like probably like in 2014, there was a reboot of the X-Files episodes.
Mm.
Have you seen them at all?
I have not.
In the reboot, that's actually what happens in the last episode, was that they released like some kind of pathogen that's triggered, like that's triggered by I think it was a satellite or some kind of satellite systems in space that triggered like some kind of genetic mutation in people, and the people who got the virus was through vaccines. So I don't know. You should see it. It's like it was probably around 2014 or so that they did a reboot of X-Files, and that was the conclusion, that it was like the virus was activated in the people through vaccines by satellites. It was weird.
Oh. Yeah.
There's definitely not just one thing happening either.
Yeah.
Like the
it's
mania
everything is happening.
is a hell of a smoke screen, so there's a lot of really I think there's a lot of things going on right now. So to like pin it down to one thing, I think is very brave. And like as simple and as much as I would hope that what Gary was saying would be true. Like this is not to like provoke or start fear or anything, but I just heard that out of the same province in Wuhan, there's a disease that's based in the avians, the chickens. They found it's H5N1, and it starts in chickens. And if it moves over to humans, it's got a 60% chance of killing anybody without discrimination as far as health and things go. But they found it in like 7,000 chickens, and they called and killed something like 14 or 15,000 of those birds in that one area. But what I thought was interesting is that it's in the same province, not very, very far from Wuhan at all. So,
well, yeah, before this virus broke out, I'm sure you heard about the pig apocalypse. They had to exterminate like half of all the pigs in China because of some flu as well. Mm-hmm. And it's not just China, it's like a third of all the pigs in the world had to be put down because of some flu.
Yeah.
It's not really in the news anymore because this thing has trumped all of it, but it was big news like back in October and November.
I feel like part of what's happening is just that most humans have literally been entrained, and whether it's by ancient AI doing algorithms that people can't differentiate from actual life, or whether it's just the immense amounts of propaganda that people are subjected to on a daily basis from school and TV and internet and literally everything, religion. I feel like it's like everyone, too many people are entrained, and it's become a dream state for them where they barely are aware that they exist, and it just goes in its own way. When you as the conscious individual are not conscious, then you are in some sort of a pseudo dream state, and there's not going to be direction to it until all of a sudden, the dream state is in a train wreck, and something has to wake up a little bit to the fact that something is going on in the dream. I feel like that's part of what this is.
Interesting.
I agree. Totally.
Oh, hey, Annie.
Hi. I look more energetically at things.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not a very good speaker. I write well, but don't speak that well. But basically, I'm seeing like perhaps this was designed like to take a lot of people out. But it's been used because it was foreknown to boomerang back on the people that are trying to take everybody out.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
And that we're, like you said, Gary, I think this hibernation thing is kind of going to be, for a lot of people, that quiet day or space and time where they reconnect to themselves and they reconnect to their loved ones or whoever they want to reconnect to. And they never get the time to do that. They're surviving, they're busy. Mm-hmm. All my kids are your age, you guys. So I relate to you guys, your age group, probably better than my own age group, but
yeah. Well,
so that Christ consciousness or whatever you want to call it, it's not Jesus, it's our own self that we need to reconnect to.
Uh-huh. Most of your age group is waiting for Jesus, right?
We're given the chance to do that. Anyway. From what, because I kind of look at all sides of the coin, from what I've looked into, too, the other side of this financial thing is they're trying to take down the Fed and put gold back in the system and create our own treasury.
I hope that's the case.
Not enslaved by the way it's been enslaved all along. And there was a few things online yesterday that said there's signs that the Fed is out. We'll see. They were saying that, and this is part of the India piece, I think, is that Trump's trying to go back to what Kennedy was trying to get, which is gold-backed money again that had been taken out. And he's trying to reorganize the whole system.
As optimistic as that sounds, I'll have to wait and see. I'll have to actually see.
I know. Well, all my kids say the same thing. I don't take it personally. I'm just throwing a different idea out there.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, or I'm right. It's just feelings, energetically.
Yep. And Annie, I agree that would be fantastic. But at the same time, I'll take it a step further and offer up that we don't even need a system if people were willing to assume self-responsibility.
Totally.
And I actually have planned probably 40 years ahead in this sense. I have the domain willtrade.org and willyoutrade.me. And I'd like to make a platform where people can do Craigslist, but without money, and just learn to interact with each other and get into their communities.
Totally. And I think we might have to take a few steps down to do that, which is actually evolution. You know, we'll evolve to that point, I think. I totally agree with you.
You mean devolve, technically? Because this system that we have now of trading imaginary things for tangible things is hyper-evolved. It's very, very complicated, so much that nobody really understands how it works for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say one thing.
It's imaginary. It's not backed by anything.
Oh, no, it's real. It's
except
as real
the control
as
system, yeah.
It's as real as mathematics, but it's just very hard to comprehend, so that's why I was saying it's hyper-evolved system.
Yeah, I agree with you, Omar. I know the knee-jerk reaction when you first see things like interest, or even you see that you're using representative items like dollar bills instead of direct trade. When you see it at first, it looks like, oh, they're creating money out of thin air. We've heard people say that a billion times over. It's not exactly correct. They are creating the interest out of free air. They're not creating the money itself. The money itself is a direct representative of a tangible amount of goods or energetic work that has been traded for it. So it is real in that aspect. It's not real in the aspect that the interest itself does not exist. Therefore, the system must grow larger in the form of adding more people or consuming more resources or literally going out into the universe and trying to expand forever. The economic machine as it is a virus that cannot sustain on a non-infinite footprint, which is the Earth. The Earth itself is finite in resources, as far as we know. Unless we just expand the model to say literally everything is infinite and there's no blocks or walls anywhere, which I don't think most people are ready to imagine, even though technically that is possible.
I'm gonna flip.
Ooh, teacher, hold on. I would agree with everything you said before the word virus, but with the emperor caveat of tangible, but not exactly representative. Because it is indicative of a tangible input of energy, yes. But it is not representative of a standardized input because there is no such way to measure or quantify that.
The virus aspect only comes from the interest. I'm not saying that the money system in itself is virus. I'm saying the interest part added onto it makes it some sort of Fibonacci sequence that can never be fulfilled.
You could flip this 100.
I was going on what you said before virus only. When you said virus, you forked the concept, then it barred reduction and encapsulation onto the point that I was responding to of your point.
I think you lost me a little bit, Omar.
You added too many variables, and I couldn't agree with it because then I wouldn't be true to what I was saying.
My mind is a very silly thing sometimes.
Oh, that's how mine works. It's like, look, chicken soup. Look.
Hey, real quick. So, yeah, it could. I think it's either both extremes. So you're saying it could either be a collapse of the Fed and going back to the gold standard, possible. It could be completely the opposite, where the Fed becomes the state and simply buys all the banks and owns everything.
The Fed already is that. It's just abstracted, and they don't have their hands in the honeypot.
You guys, since
But that's what it already does.
Since this is
That's
so
what
fun,
it is.
I want to re-up one more time. I'm not going to re-up again after this, but we're running out of time again, so everyone who wants to come back for number 4, this has been a great time. So.
I'm not able to, so I'm going to go ahead and go. All right, guys.
Okay, thanks
Okay,
for
I will.
coming on, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. Good to see you
Bye-bye.
today.
We'll re-up one more time, and maybe we'll get a fresh face or two as well. Not that I don't love you guys with your beautiful faces, but...
I feel bad because I also have to go. My personal trainer is like coming to pick me up, and I need to get dressed for the gym. So
Okay, you can always
Just
come
wanna
back
know,
on,
like-
Spencer.
pop in and
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Okay, well,
Okay, we'll try one more. Probably just be Omar, but maybe also. Wait, what? Not meant to collect today. Energetically blocked. Oh. Rebecca says she's blocked. My goodness, that coffee breathing just didn't work.
You can't do that to yourself.
Right? I think I shorted Omar's brain out.
Hmm?
I think I shorted Omar's brain out on accident.
You shorted yours too?
No, I didn't. I knew what I was saying.
Oh.
It's just that my brain somehow holds all of the variables without having contradictions appear internally. But other people might be like, what? What is this?
Mm-hmm.
Null saints. Okay. So we need to do. Love to all, him queen. Yeah, come join us, Melissa. How come is everybody scared to join? This is ridiculous. We need to have a bunch of new faces. Okay? New faces. Here's the newest one. You can jump on for number 4. Spencer and Daniel are rotating out, so I need 2 more people rotating in. Okay. Round 4. This is the final round. We're just gonna do 4. Final round. And I probably need to text this to Omar again. The smoke was doing some pretty cool things. Yes. Let's say hello. Saki's are
hello.
Hi.
I have a banana that I'm not eating, and it will probably be bread.
Oh yeah, it should be bread.
I just had to do that because of what you said a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Last night it looked great, and I woke up and it looked like that.
It's time
Really?
for bread.
Did it get into an artificial time compression loop?
Yeah, it met a 48-hour hyperdrive. So.
Jump timeline.
I forgot it was on my table, and the next time I looked at it, it turned into that.
Okay. Well, it's just you, Omar, unless someone else decides that they want to.
I actually threw out a few fishing hooks, and let me see if Corey. Oh, he's in school right now.
School? Who's in school?
Corey Falwell. Have you seen him on Facebook?
Never heard of him.
He made this thing.
Nice.
Oh, wow. Foul? How do you spell his last name?
Falwell.
Okay.
Falwell.
I'll see if I can find him.
He's got a green and red shirt on, and it's a picture of him in front of a door.
Corey. Corey?
I'm going to do this whole thing and send you a message with his...
Oh, he has like a tie-dye shirt on? Nature does not hurry.
Did you get that? I just sent you a message.
Yep, I found him.
Okay.
It says there's like 6 mutual friends, so I'm assuming it's the correct person.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Yep. What else? I don't know what else.
Well, what's on your
Said
mind?
it all.
What's on my mind is that we're gonna move to an apartment in a week, and we're gonna have our own stability. I think, hopefully.
Trying to hold on to it.
Although, being that the nature of the reality is change, and I have stabilized that factor internally, it doesn't matter if the stability occurs or not. But I want it to. So there's a little bit of conflict of possibilities. Like always. Whatever. In a week, we're supposed to be moving into an apartment, so I'm going to assume that's going to happen.
Less than a week.
Do they know how to do paperwork up there? Like, did you sign a agreement or?
We're signing on Thursday and Friday.
It's a legitimate company. Like, it's nothing shady is going on.
No. My joke was very simple. Like, they do have computers and leases and stuff up there, right?
They do,
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not all hillbillies.
Hold on 1 second. What kind of incense are you using?
We have like 10 different flavors, and this is just Palo Santo.
Oh, yeah, I have a similar mental retardation with incense.
Wait, what?
I just like it too much to just like get one kind, and so I'm always like jumping around, like putting different ones.
Yeah.
It produces like different emotional effects for me.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. Like some of them are like, oh fuck, like you feel like you're in a temple and like you're not allowed to talk.
Yeah.
And then some of them are like, I should have some people over. That's like, here, let me find that weed that I haven't smoked for 2 years, and I'll offer it up to people that want to come over.
Mm-hmm.
Like the range of, it's very weird because it's an alchemical thing, right? Like, I don't know the word offhand, but, like calcination or all those different alchemy words.
Yeah.
When you burn incense, it's one of those processes, right?
Yeah, I get the urge to like either sit really still, or I'll get like I need to go dance, or it's time to cook. Just lots of different emotional spaces that produce like a desire to either do something or be still or whatever.
Yeah, the smells are very powerful. I can have a whiff of something and it brings me back to some childhood memory just like instantly. They're very good for acting as triggers.
My dad was talking to me yesterday about mangoes. And how when he was a little boy in Egypt, he would get a mango and eat it, and then like everything would be okay in the world, and like it was so tasty, and it made him really happy. And then I was telling him yesterday in the store we were at, look, they even have mangoes here. He had never been to the Indian grocery we went to, and he said, yeah, I saw that, but I can't eat them anymore because I don't know when to stop. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, when you get older, sugar makes you fat. And then we got into this 5-minute conversation about metabolism. And I was like under the impression that you couldn't go from sugar back to carbohydrate. But he said it gets stored as fat, and I didn't understand, and I just dropped it.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
But the thing about mangoes, you reminded me because of the different moods, and then what Gary said about triggers childhood memories.
Yeah.
I got really excited rolling my cigarette, and I kind of like forked 3 different concepts by accident.
The best mango I ever had, it was mango juice, fresh mango juice in Cuba. It was so good. I literally sat and cried while I drank it. It was that. It was incredible.
That sounds good.
Yes. Cuban mangoes.
I need to try that.
I actually don't like mangoes. They're too exciting. It's like there's too much stimulus.
There's a lot going on.
Phobic.
It's like sugary. It's like tangy. It's astringent. It's like, holy fuck, what is this thing?
They can also feel like a little bit smoky. Smoky sometimes too.
Mangoes?
Yeah, like a hint of smokiness.
Wow.
It's wild.
I need to bring back my external mic because I know the sound quality suffers with my computer mic.
You sound fine over here.
I know, but recording... and somebody also made a comment about it. So it was on my mind. But I wish you both well in your move. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa.
Gary, send me the link to the meeting in Facebook so I can send it to Corey.
Okay. Let me see. Invite copy Earl. On Messenger, you want it?
Yeah.
Okay. It is sent. I truly like mango. I truly like Gary. Mango not like. What's my flavor like?
It's always different.
Always different. Can you oversaturate with Gary? Can you become... What's the word? Tolerant? Can you become Gary tolerant?
I don't think so. Hello?
That's actually really funny because I think one of the things people, and that's an extremely high compliment, because one of the things people fail to understand about relationships and what makes a successful relationship is you agree to merge your essence with somebody else's essence and perpetually dance.
Mm-hmm.
So that Andrea said that means that she's definitely merged with your essence, because no, she can't become oversaturated because she's already there. She's absorbing the Gary, and the Gary is absorbing the Andrea, and it's like la 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 la. We are molecules. We are molecules dancing.
It's ever changing all the time.
Yep. There's no what's the word?
Hey, Rebecca.
I don't know what the word is. I don't know.
What? No repeating?
No, I know. There's repeating. I mean,
Sometimes.
no, there's not really repeating. I think if you become fascinated enough by your own life, then it doesn't matter anymore. You just have to actually, you have to actually love your own life. There is a way to not love your own life, and that's if you stay in fear mode all the time. Then you don't love your own life. And you're like, oh my god, the Jays are... It's all the Jays' fault. How many members did that?
No.
No? Stop it. Stop it. Rebecca, can you hear?
I can hear now.
How are you doing?
I'm
I'm okay. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you? Oh wait, you just said that.
Let me see if I can get my audio.
You said you're feeling a little blocked lately, Rebecca?
You still coughing coffee?
The coffee attack is still continuing.
Sorry.
I just cannot breathe coffee.
It's not advisable.
No.
It's not a cigarette. Although, if they made a coffee Garrett.
Coffee Garrett?
Might be nice.
So go ahead, Rebecca.
I just feel incredibly blocked.
Do you have practices at all, like daily practices? Do you do meditation, or do you go for runs, or like?
I do yoga daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do yoga daily and a bit of meditation. My own version.
Mm. Yeah. If you're feeling blocked, I feel like that's there's some part of yourself that has been neglected, or perhaps you just haven't been aware of it, and it's trying to communicate with you. And the seeing of whatever has been neglected or not seen for a while, I think that seeing in and of itself can release some of that blockage feeling.
How do you mean exactly?
Because it's like
Can you give me an example?
It's just a feeling space. Like if you're walking through your day and you feel constricted in some manner, it's because you yourself have some pocket of fear or something in your life or your past that hasn't been dealt with properly. Perhaps a childhood thing. Maybe it's relationship stuff that, maybe there's a person or two out there that you still have some angst communication with subconsciously, and you haven't going in. That's why, like in AA, they teach one of the first things they teach in AA is to go do amends. And amends doesn't mean that like you're going and apologizing necessarily. It just means that if you have like something out for rent, so to speak, like if somebody still is borrowing a lawnmower of yours and they haven't brought it back yet, so to speak, then that's a thing that is disturbing your consciousness. So if you have relationship problems that haven't been tended to with, or if you have anything, like if you have fear components still remaining in your consciousness that you've been somehow hiding or blocking from, it's just a signal that you need to look at something.
And that's all that it is. Yeah. And it couldn't, and I can agree and accept that. But also in this, could it be an influx of others' energies? Like that's what I'm really trying, and that's what I kind of wanted to talk to you about, like differentiating between my own, which I'm getting better at, I think, getting some type of awareness and grasp on, and the influx of others, which I seem to be extremely receptive to.
Mm-hmm. Part of it is,
and in going through like healing, trauma healing, and all that, like it's all kind of boom hitting me at once, and so I just have difficulty navigating through all that. Really.
Yeah. So surrender, like Andrea said, is that's a necessary component to me in almost all situations, because you really aren't in control. So to just imagine like you're actually a multidimensional being. Okay, just take it in your mind for a second that you are not just the human Rebecca that's doing regular human things, right? Like that's not. That fact, like being multidimensional, multifaceted, is not manageable by a single linear consciousness. It can't be managed by that. So if you're trying to embrace your multidimensional reality, and you're simultaneously trying to manage it from a singular linear perspective, you're going to create a lot of angst and internal frustration because it's not actually possible.
Okay.
And part of it, honestly, like, if you haven't come to terms with the fact that you are a creator in some sense, and there isn't really baseline solid anything, then you're gonna keep having fear until you really embrace that. Like what
Yeah.
comes out of your mouth is truth. Like what comes out of anybody's mouth is truth. So if you're still having fear, then what happens because of that is words come out of your mouth, which is literally like divine truth. Like speaking is divine truth. That's how we know it. If words are coming out of your mouth and you're still feeling uncertain about them, you're doubting yourself as a divine multidimensional being, and that's what your reality is going to reflect.
And there is some of that, and I kind of flip flop between that. Like I'll have moments of complete clarity and no fear whatsoever, and then and that's what, and again, like I'm fairly aware of myself, and I always have been. But then I also in that in itself, also knowing that I am incredibly receptive, and I'm not trying to put it off on anyone else that I'm at all. Like I accept full responsibility for myself and what I have to work through and go through, but then also knowing that who I am is also receptive to others' energies. And so like I said, it's just, that's my challenge really is, I don't know.
If you want, you can always, bubble yourself off from any other energies and just sort of like almost quarantine your own energy. And then you can feel what's only yours, and that the rest of it will be shut out until you're ready to invite it back in.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, like we can't handle, as individual beings, we cannot handle like the collective. Anybody who's talking about collective energies, like when I talk about the collective, it's very low level, low lying, like nuanced feelings that I talk about. I know that if I were to be actually inserted into the feeling space of the collective, I would go insane and like explode in a split second. Like a linear consciousness simply cannot handle that. It can't handle it. So maybe you need to beef up your border patrol, perhaps.
That's what I mean.
And like Andrea said, there's no reason to be feeling what the collective is feeling for the most part, because in this society, it's mostly fear. It's mostly fear and subconscious urges, which the collective is feeling because this is an upside down, backwards place, and that's just how it is. So if you are a conscious individual trying to navigate through that soup, and you haven't shut your borders down to the noise, then the perception of movement is going to be even guided by the noise rather than your own internal light, which knows everything. There is an aspect of everybody which knows everything. It's the God part. It knows every single place you've ever been, every place you ever will be. It knows infinity. It knows all of everything. And also, it's boring being in that place, so that's why the consciousness goes and lives as a flesh and tuned spirit, because it wants to, forget that it knows everything in some aspect.
Yeah.
And there's not a right or wrong answer. Like, I'm not any more right than anybody else is, but I speak with authority because I know my actual position as creator, as a creator at least. I don't question. Like, if I say something that I feel, and that's just that. It's subjective, and anyone can take up, issue with me if they wish, but they're going to have a hard time because I don't believe in facts. Like, everything is subjective to me. So if you're trying to argue something, you're trying to literally, like, throw words into a river going off of a cliff and somehow have the words relate to the river, and it's just not going to happen. Sometimes you just need to sit with yourself, Sometimes it's just not good. Sometimes it's not fun. I had to go through lots of not fun times. And at some point, you will crystallize within yourself the assurance that is due to you. It will happen. It happens with everybody. Nobody goes along feeling angsty and unsure forever. Eventually, you will come to your own self-understanding, and it won't even need to be verified by anybody. You'll just know. And at that point, you don't have to say anything.
Because communicating your truth is part of this experience, and being able to do that, right?
Of course. You're doing it right now.
By the way, I've been here the whole time. I just was updating something, so I'm following along.
Hey, Omar.
I realized that when the video disappears, nobody actually knows if you're there. But yeah, right. I'm just quiet.
Right.
Okay.
I have a feeling, Rebecca, that I know what you're feeling. Like, I know that space. It's that space is almost like the child version of ourselves that's scared and lonely. I know that feeling space, and I know that everybody has it. Everybody has that aspect of themselves, and that's just something that needs to be nurtured. Like, that part just needs love. Like, it needs a hug, basically. You know?
Yeah.
So it's not so much a logical, like, problem to be solved as it is like the plant needs watering.
Yeah, it's an aspect of self, and if you ignore it, bad things happen, but if you don't ignore it, then it eventually equalizes itself out.
Yeah.
So just surrender and accept and just let it do its thing,
and utilize what you have in this group. Like, reach out, you know, like, that's another AA thing that I see as a difficulty in regular relationships, in that we're scared to actually reach out when we're actually struggling. And I have the same exact issue. Whenever I'm feeling bad, my first inclination is not to get on Facebook or my phone and say, hey, everyone, I feel like shit, please help. That's like the last thing I would want to do. But the people around you, when you are in that sort of vulnerable mode, the true friends that actually care about you, they can help, because they're just providing a contrast to the energy that you're dealing with currently.
I would say that plus, like, the flip side of it, if you can also spend time alone with just yourself, you'll start to realize that nobody outside of you has what you actually need. Nobody can love you exactly like you need to be loved, except your own self. And so that was key for me, at least. When everybody went away, everyone disappeared, I had no one. I went in and I realized that I myself was all that I really needed. And now I'm surrounded with a lot more support, and I lean on that when I need to, and it's good. But the power that I got from sitting with myself and realizing that I am everything that I could ever possibly need all by myself, you know, even still, I'm connected to the whole, obviously. But there's a lot of power when you realize that you can love yourself better than anybody else. And when you get there, then reaching out for support is just like an added, you know, frosting on the cake kind of thing. And it adds to your experience, but you don't have to be reaching out and grabbing for that, you know. So it doesn't feel like it's such a need, because you're already so full within yourself.
Clinging to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's beautifully said. Yeah, absolutely.
But Gary's great at giving support, and we sort of, I don't know, we have like opposite ends of the spectrum as far as he's better at the support side externally, I guess, or you offer it, Whereas for me, I'm always like, I'm good on my own. Like,
she pretends like there's no problems, and then I have to go see that there's problems, and I'm like, hey, there's a problem. I see it. Can we talk about this? And then, you know, it comes out that way. But I think it's oops. What is this? Ah! Feedback. Is Aurora Aurora is
Hi, hopped on. I'm sorry if I've caused feedback.
Hi, Aurora. Welcome.
Hi, sorry if I made feedback.
Actually, that was me turning on the live stream and then realizing what it did to the video and turning it off.
That hurt my head, Omar.
Sorry, that was 600,000 volts coming into the atmosphere. Although I can't hear anything you're saying, Aurora.
I can't hear you.
What did you say?
I'm not muted.
No, now I can hear you. When you touched the lamp, it just wasn't cooperating.
Okay, I'll put on my better mic. I just went out for supplies. The toilet paper apocalypse has reached my small little town. But don't worry, guys, I'm stocked up. I'm not panicking or anything like that.
Good to
We
hear.
had toilet paper in Ventura. That's weird. I would assume that Ojai would as well.
You know, my little market where I shop, like down at the end of my street, they were out, and they'll have more in the week, and the local places were out. It's just, you know, I kind of thought like the craziness would stay more to the city, like the more populated zones, but the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths got to the toilet paper section. I'm just reporting back. No, I mean, whatever, I'm being lighthearted and things like that. In general, in my little town, things have been people are acting normal and courteous and upbeat, but that's also very normal for where I live. And we have a local farmers market, and I checked it out. Like, farmers market is still on, so that's good. So I feel like, you know, people are continuing with their lives. And pardon me while I eat like some little breakfast while we chat.
No problem.
We didn't have bananas. I went out for supplies yesterday, and there were no bananas. And they had bought all the onions as well, which was interesting.
What thought was that in the middle of?
There were plenty of other things, like 99% of the things I would normally get at the store were there, no problem. But I'm weird and don't like what everybody else likes, so...
Why not, Omar? You should. You should definitely like that, just because everyone else does. You should feel random feelings of guilt that have no logic attached to whatsoever, because Yaldi needs to eat, okay? Is that okay with you, Omar?
I don't know.
I stocked up on chia seed because it makes like a really good, just, you know, quick meal with lots of good stuff in it. All you have to do is add water. Like, I know that's not what usual people would stock up on for whatever, you know, survival rations. I think like camping food. Like, what would you eat if you were camping or whatever? But I also don't sense, let me reassure you, when I check in, like with my internal barometer, I don't sense that we're going to have an issue of like loss of services, like electricity, or, you know, basic running water and things like that. I actually sense that this transition is meant to be like, not freak out the norms, like to not be something where people feel like they are in a Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome type of thing, you know, act in that way. And I think the toilet paper thing, it is, what's that?
This is Andrea and my creation of late. It's eggs, and there's just soil, and we just planted seeds, or she planted seeds yesterday.
Very nice. Very nice.
Clever. I've never seen.
And then once the plants have hatched and they're ready to be planted, you crunch the bottom of the egg and leave it there, and then the egg's nutrients help the plant as it acclimates to the new earth that you're setting it in.
That is really
love that.
Oh, and also, Andrea licked all the seeds because we heard that like the plants will develop specifically to your own DNA needs if you do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's what I do with my cannabis seeds. I soak them in my saliva, and literally that way those plants are developing whatever medicine is specifically for me. And also when I'm going to water them, I spit in the bucket. Like that way they're like, they know who I am, they know who they're growing for. I'm like, just give me what I need.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I'm excited.
Yep, we're moving into our new place on Friday.
Congratulations!
Thank you. We finally have our own apartment, and we have basically in the front we're up on a hill, and we're up on like the 7th floor or something like that.
Seventh? Are there 7 floors?
It's really tall, maybe 5th, I don't know. But the thing is on a hill, and then on one side is just a whole big old forest, and on the other side overlooks the whole city of Portland. So we're like up on a perch. It's pretty cool.
Sorry for the loudness.
Rebecca,
no loud barking.
Rebecca,
no.
are you a Capricorn? Somebody asked. Melissa asked. Rebecca.
Who?
Hi, Cheeky.
Am I a Capricorn?
Yeah.
No, I'm a Gemini. I'm on the Taurus Gemini cusp.
Okay, you're the same as me, I think. I believe. When's your birthday is in July?
No, May 22nd.
Oh, you're on.
I'm a Gemini, yeah. Just off the Tauran cusp. Are you a Cancer?
Well, I was a Cancer, but then before.
You're a Cancer in Western astrology. You're Gemini.
Oh, okay.
I never know how much information I should share or not. Hi, Cheeky. Too many untold stories. They will come out at some point, for sure. How's Cheeky been?
Cheeky is not enjoying that it is quite rainy and dreary by us because she doesn't really like go for walks for like relief in the rain. So and I make her wear a sweater because it's cold out. I have to bribe her to get into her sweater. She's like a little kid. She's like, "Oh, Mom, like, do I have to put it on?" So she's been moping a little bit, but we went to one of her favorite places this morning. I'm going to spell it out for you. EUTCHER. All right. And there. We need to get those three things. Like I get some beef jerky and whatever there. And so that was like the highlight of her day, and she gets special goodies for going there. So we made it up to her, even though she's not enjoying the weather.
Francesca.
Nice. Hi, Kitty.
Oh, she's asleep.
She can't be bothered.
Is she having
Francesca?
dreams? Is that why her tail is twitching? She's having dreams?
No, when I say her name, she'll watch. Francesca. Francesca. That's like her way of acknowledging. Francesca. But she's like, I'm busy right now.
She's supervising you. She's working very hard.
Her eyes are open, but she's totally doing something.
She's working.
Yep. The animals try to hold proper space for the crazy humans.
Definitely. I'll tell you, Cheeky is super perceptive, and she remembers when we had an emergency in our area in 2017. We had a really bad fire that pretty much encircled our town, and when we went out this morning, I was kind of reassuring her, like, don't worry, it's not the same type of a thing, because she was kind of like, what's going on? Like, people are not, the energy and the feeling is not what we usually do. Like, we usually go to the park and amble around and we read into any of those things. It was very like, let's get things done. But yeah, the local stores that I went into did not have lines out the street or anything like that, but I don't go to big giant stores. Like, I usually go to my little local markets anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen much outside that looks any different than normal. Andrea went into a store yesterday, and you said like there was one spot that was empty, or
there were a few spots that were getting empty, but generally it was fine. People were really nice.
Yeah. And I also think that this, we are coming to the close of the chapter of the getting of the stuff. And then at a certain point in this trip, we're tripping, just like on mushrooms or something like that. At a certain point, we'll be like, okay, these are the supplies that you have with you in your space pod. You have this, and this, and your neighbors have this, and this. If you need to get something, you'll go on adventures and get it. But I think at a certain point, it's like, this is what you've got within your confines and work with what you've got. And that it's more about going on a journey within. We're moving away from materialism and material stuff. So I think this is the last push of everyone being like, okay, time to get your magical toilet paper talismans and whatever else will protect you from uncertainty, and then chill out. And so whatever, everybody's got their thing. Yep. They're ready to chill out. And also, I also sense that we're still going to have TV and Netflix type of entertainment, because I think that's another big thing about making sure that people don't freak out and think that, oh my God, whatever. I think that there will still be entertainment for the masses.
For sure.
What do you think, Aurora, if the current sort of petrodollar system were to disband itself, what do you think would be the replacement?
Well, ideally, you would live in a no-money system where we all eat pure light. I'm voting for like pure light, okay? But in lieu of that, if we have to bring it down one octave, right, from that like piercing high note, I would say finding a way to apportion money and value more fairly to people who actually like would use it responsibly. That it's not in our world, it's not just the problem that we have money as a marker for value. It's the way that it's hoarded or kept away from, that some people are suppressed from accessing it. It's not, I don't even know how to describe this, but it's the game of musical chairs, but also the game is stacked against certain people in this world. It's a very artificial world. Hey man, are you signaling? Do you have something to say?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty important because it sounds like you just made a complete. If you're gonna put it to people who are using it more responsibly on one hand, can you clarify what you mean? Because then that's keeping it away from those other people you mentioned immediately after that.
I don't know which one is the two groups. I'm getting confused. So who's on one hand and who's on the other?
Well, if you're using money, if you're delegating money to people who would use it more responsibly,
yeah,
then you're also keeping it away from other people. So how do those two dovetail together?
So the people who would use it irresponsibly are the people who would use it, let's say, at the expense of the total earthly environment. If you're like, I just want money for me, and I'm willing to pollute you for ages and eons, then that's, a person who, like, that person should be able to have $10 in their pocket. You can't do that much damage with $10, right? They should not be a multimillionaire. They should not be owning huge energy concerns. Like, this is the real issue, that people are willing to enrich themselves at the expense of not only the totality of the biosphere, but many future generations. So people who should have resources, are people who would use them responsibly. But I'm not talking about some kind of, communist totalitarian state org. You should have individuality and, let's say, self-direction. Like, you should be able to say, hey, here's what I want to do with my resources. Not, like have some communist plan where it's like, okay, here's the 5-year plan and you're going to follow it whether you like it or not. So you have to, and also people work best when they have, freedom of self-direction. Like when they can choose their own, like if you're an employee and you're like, okay, like I want to work these hours and I'll get my stuff done. And then, be sure to be productive. People like it best when they can set their own hours and set their own work pace, as opposed to having a slave driver or a taskmaster, embodied or AI, like tell you what to do at every moment. So workers, not even workers. People are more happy and productive in their life when they can self-direct and they still get their stuff done. They might work in the middle of the night or, do weird things. I'm an artist and I know you that make weird coffee drinks and drink them all night too.
So you're speaking to the affect and the intent of the money being used.
Yeah, but ideally we would not have to have money because I'm talking about the world that I'm more familiar with, like a world of pure energy where value is evident. Like there's no way to separate the art from the artist. The two are totally intertwined, or there's no way to separate.
That's the world that I live in as well, but it's going to be an interesting push to get people to realize they're capable.
Right. Well, I think like I know you and I know me and I know a bunch of other people that are ready to make a quantum leap directly into that world. Hit the high note, everyone. But then it's true that there's a lot of laggards that are like, wait, we haven't been training for this marathon and we're obsessed with toilet paper and let's just bring it down one octave. Like make it so that everyone can sing it more easily, not all like trained for the opera. So I'm understanding that too, even though I'm the ultimate encourager of like, never settle. Go for pure freedom. Go for the whole sandwich, not mere crumbs. I think that's really important to understand. But let's say I would accept incremental sandwichism, which would be like saying, let's transition from completely false money system where, through like digitized currency, things have been artificially, exponentially increased to the point that it has no connection to actual reality. And I think like cryptocurrency, I'm sorry, but I thought at one point that it would be a force for freedom, but it's just as obviously artificially manipulated and just matrix programmed as anything that is out there. So and here's the real thing, guys.
Whales.
If all of the energy came through to our consciousness right now, everyone would realize how, pardon my French, fucking fake the world is. And no one would be chasing the dollar or hoarding gold or doing any of those things. So, it's like light is coming in very slow, as there are some smudges on the lens that are like kind of making it. Now I'm like, remove the lens, like just let the light come in. That is my approach. And I'm kind of like wild, like let the chips fall where they I'm and many others are tired of waiting. Like don't want to have to wait around any longer, really ready to experience a different level of reality.
This is why I hide inside and build things, because there are people that need that incremental, but then at the same time I'm building things for people that are just ready. So it's really funny that you say all that, because I agree.
Yeah. And I think some people are ready to communicate beyond technology. Like if you turned off all the technology, some people would freak out and they would say, where's my phone? And some people would be like, oh, finally, I can finally talk to that tree. I can finally talk to that bird without all these Wi-Fi signals going through my brain.
Well, I have people that I talk to telepathically, but most people aren't ready for that yet either.
So that takes a great deal of self-responsibility and respect of people's boundaries. And you're correct that this world at this point is not at the maturity level to be a fully telepathic society, because there would be a lot of disrespect done in terms of like sexualizing people. Hold on a second. I had set an alarm to remind myself of something. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Hold on.
Omar, you're slowly sliding out of view.
Oh no, I'm here. I decided to sit back in the chair and experience it touching my back.
You decided to go against the slouch? Omar, are you holding your spine erect?
No, it's holding itself erect.
Okay, I'm reversing the curvature of my spine as we speak.
Is it the egg or is it the vacuum inside the egg?
What? Oh,
the spine and holding as a matrix.
I don't know.
Oh.
That's why the camera is as it is.
Don't ask me any questions. I know nothing. Okay. We have 5 minutes, and I'm not gonna. Aurora, you caught us on the tail end. I renewed this thing 4 times, so this is a long one.
I saw that you had it going several times. I'm sorry that I wasn't here earlier. I was out foraging and exploring.
We've had a total of like 8 people, 9, 10 come and go, so it's been a multi-dimensional show.
Gary, it's a new record. This is the longest snail show ever.
Is it really? What are we at?
Yeah.
Are we over 2 hours?
It's 1 o'clock right now.
Oh, it's like 3 hours. Oh my god, this is the longest snail show ever. Oh, while we have a couple of minutes, I wanted to remind everybody about Ron's fundraiser, and please go donate and or share if you can. It's at 700 and what? Something. 741, I think, which is amazing in just 1 week. That's really amazing. I think someone donated $200, so we're
my friend said that she was going to donate the next time she gets paid.
Yeah, and also Denissa donated. I don't know if you're still friends with her or not, but she donated.
No, I blocked her and left my email open, and she hasn't emailed me.
Yeah, we got donations from a lot of people. And also Hamish, I don't know if you guys know of him. I talked with him once back in the day, but he's actually a very big YouTuber in California. He's got 100,000 subs, and I emailed him and said, hey, can you plug this for my friend? He's like, yeah, sure, blah, 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 and he gave $20, and he says he's going to plug it on his next live stream, so if he does that, then just that alone possibly could push it up over 1,400, so.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Yeah, one thing I wanted to say, I would like to share with everyone and share in other forums and everything like that too. I feel like what we're going through right now is, it's important how we behave. It's always been important how we behave, but I think right now, even more so, our goodness or wickedness is magnified. So doing good deeds or taking time to think beyond just your own personal comfort and survival, I think it's essential to do that right now.
Mm-hmm. Much agreed. because we're amplifiers, right? We amplify signals. So if it's a fear signal and you're buying into that, guess what? Like, you're amplifying it, and that's what your reality is going to start appearing like. And if you see a fundraiser to help some man get his teeth back, and you want to help that out, and you give your energy into that, that's going to amplify itself.
Totally.
I like amplifying signals.
That's right. And that amplification, even if it's physical with the donation of money, if you don't have the donation of money, you can donate your goodwill, where you say, I hope that thing works. Like, wishes are really a tangible thing. And we're in this incredibly, whatever, world of pure potential moment where if you're like, yeah, I wish that guy gets his teeth fixed, and I wish that person improved their life, and I wish they find a better place to live. Like, all of these things definitely are possible.
Yep.
And so much more.
I feel like we're just now beginning to see like the tiniest amount of potential for this place. I feel like it's been underground, stomped on in the dark, suppressed, oppressed, leached off of. Literally every negative thing you could think of has already happened to this place, and we're coming finally into a bit of equilibrium where you have opportunity to start living,
I agree. And then you have the people who are still worried and stuck in the old. My friend is posting about Nisara and all these things, and I'm like, oh god, you just found that rabbit hole. Have fun. Hope you're not there too long.
Nisara?
I don't know what that is.
Never heard it.
It's a weird. If you just look up Nisara law, try not to look too much.
Yeah, so Nisara was once a real law, but then it got kind of co-opted by the fringe people who are super, like, high on hopium, and it's been dragged out for a really long time. Like, a lot of people are like, why get a job? Like, I'm going to get an abundance fund. This is going to be great. And I was like, no, guys, like, do something productive and blah, blah, blah. So, and that's where people lately are looking at their student loan things and being like, is my student loan free? Is it Nisara? So I think yellow caution flags on the idea of Nisara Gasara. It's kind of like a government savior program. Super yellow caution flags on universal basic income, which makes you a professional consumer and really locks you down to like suckling at the teat of the nanny state. And I would say we need to have like a gentle transition to a less materialistic world. So I would accept like, hey, if over the next month, if our idea of value and what is real and what is currency radically changes, I think that's a really wonderful positive thing. I don't think it would be positive if at the end of that we all had to use digital currency that banks controlled, or if we had to have a thumbprint or a whatever, microchip in order to be able to access our value. Like, I think when we achieve our higher psychic powers, you can see what's valuable. It's like the stupidest thing in the world. It's like your taste buds can taste what tastes good. Like, this cake is awesome. This is valuable, good cake. Like, you can tell what's cake. Guys, when you look at a piece of artwork, you know what's good versus what's poop. Come on, you can tell. And it doesn't matter whether it's in a museum or whether it's, on a humble, whatever, anonymous place. Like, you can tell, you can taste the cake and see if it's good. So
Aurora,
it's time,
if I can interrupt real quick, sorry.
All right, wrap it up.
We have 25 seconds left. I just want to say thank you for everyone who came on. Aurora, thank you for showing up. Omar, thank you. Rebecca, thank you. I hope you feel a little better.
Thank you.
This has been the biggest marathon of the Snail Show so far, so thanks to everyone who came on, and we'll do this weekly, so anyone can hop on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. 3. Oh, no 3. Just goodbye. Rachel, I saw that you said you were ready to come on the live. This live is currently ending, but somewhat weekly. I don't know. I don't plan these things. Maybe next week if we're live, just come on. Okay. Thanks again for hanging out. Don't go too crazy out there. Peace.